break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up, I ain't never giving up. Taking that crown from you. I ain't worried about you, I ain't so let me break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up, I ain't never giving up. Taking that crown from you. I ain't worried about you, I ain't here to make.
Hello and welcome to the Opinions of the Uninformed podcast. This is a reattempt because one of us may have made a fuck up. Not naming any names, but he's only got two letters in it. So, right. So we are talking this week about our final, the final Last of Us episode because the wheels have come off the bus. We're talking about Last of Us Final. It's going to be episode 9. This is episode 7. I'm fucking unbelievably.
What is going on?
I'm
Do you want me to introduce the show, Jack?
We got it right. 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to Opinions of the Uninformed podcast. We are talking this week, of course, about The Last of Us episode 9, which will be the final. And then we're going to go over all our bits and bobs about the entire season, whether or not it stands well as an adaptation and whether it stands well as a TV show in its own right. You have to excuse my slightly off-kilter demeanor. We did this 3 times.
Third time the charm.
So, right. Without further ado, let me introduce everyone who's going to be on here. Of course, you know us. You know, you've seen us. You're welcome to knowing us even better. I don't know where I'm going with this. Anyway, I am Jay, Firefly Zero. I am joined, as always, by LiveConvoy, Rich.
Howdy. How you all doing?
And, of course, the proper TJ.
Definitely wasn't proper earlier. But yeah, I'm here now.
Nothing proper.
He was trying to stream. He was trying to stream our in secluded podcast that he.
The buttons are next to each other, okay? Yeah. Stream
one
and
says
record.
Streaming and one says record.
Technical problems.
So we're going to give TJ some English lessons later, just to make sure
English
that he knows
hard.
what he's reading next time. It is hard. I'm not going to deny that. There, and there, all being the same word. They're completely different. Right. Swiftly moving on. Guys, how has your week been? How have you been since I spoke to you last?
All grand. Still training at work, getting more involved, getting stuck in. Yeah, just another 2 weeks of it. Looking forward to actually getting in my store and making some shit happen, you know.
Yeah. TJ, what you been up to, buddy?
not too much really, just chilling at work. I built my Lego Batman mask. You can see over my shoulder just there.
Oh yes, you can see it.
Just see it. So I built that. That was about the highlight of my week. You can't. Well, it's there. It's there.
Yeah.
I had a horrible week at work. Glad to come back and play video games. I've of course been playing a lot of betas, so Diablo 4 and the Exo Primal beta, where you're in an Iron Man suit shooting dinosaurs. Who doesn't want to do that, isn't it?
Nice.
Me and Joe have both been playing a fuck ton of Dead Cells as well, because the game's had a Castlevania crossover. And there's also, like, I played the game a lot when it first came out and didn't realise it's actually had crossovers with probably 24 other games. So at one point I'm dressed up as the guy from Hotline Miami with the crowbar from fucking Half-Life off to Dracula's castle because
why not?
Yeah, awesome.
Because why not? So, well, I'm glad to hear that you all had a slightly interesting week.
Well, I have also I have also managed to avoid being DDoSed on Dead by Daylight, so that's always a highlight, right?
Win, yeah.
DDoS. Why
there's mate, the whole DBD community, like streamers, it's a massive thing going on at the moment. DDoS attacks because behaviour are like shit, and they don't they don't know what security is. Pretty much.
You heard it here first, kids. Yeah, behaviour shit.
Yeah,
from
the mouth of TJ.
A lot of the prevalent streamers in the community have been getting DDoSed, even with VPNs. Because if you've ever streamed the game, then your IP has at one point been available.
It's known.
And they're obviously been able to mine through the files, find the IPs and get around people's VPNs as well. So it's been a really interesting week. With DBD. So yeah, DBD Twitter's has always been the cesspool that it is. So it's been fun.
Fantastic. Sounds like you're having a lovely time over there streaming one of your favourite games. Fantastic.
Yeah, amazing.
Talking about good times, let's go to some grimmer, darker times set in a world where the world has passed. Of course, we're talking about Last of Us Episode 9, Look for the Light. This is, of course, the final episode in our season. I was going to point out that it does manage to encompass the entire game, which is great news. However, of course, we'll cover a bit more what has been said about Season 2 towards the end. Right, so just getting down to the gritty bits of it. Of course,
last tax, people.
Yes. Season 1, Episode 9, Look for the Light, aired on March 13th, 2023. It was generally seen that it should be 15-year-olds, and it was 43 minutes long. Now, we talked about this being 43 minutes long. Very, very short. But I do think that they managed to hit all the beats that was necessary in order to tell the remainder of the story. This, of course...
Go on, say what you're going to say, and then I've got a little request, but say what you were going to say first.
Yeah, so I just wanted to cover that the IMDB rating currently is sitting at a 9.1 out of 10 with 34,000 ratings. So, TJ, you was going to say, sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to say, can we, and I hope we'll all agree on this, can we split this into two parts? Can we talk about the first 5
part, minutes and then the rest
the
of
first
it? Yeah,
5-7 minutes, and then the rest of it? Because I feel that's how we need to address this, or at least how I need to address this.
I agree. Yeah,
I think everyone. I think just to cover what TJ is covering here, obviously just to read what it says on IMDb as the discovery for this, a pregnant Anna places her trust in a lifelong friend later, Joel and Ellie, near the end of their journey. Now, anyone who's played the video game might go, Anna, who the fuck is Anna?
Yeah.
And why would she be so prevalent at the start of the game? Now, I'm not going to tell you because TJ is going to rant about it in about 5 minutes. So I'm going to let him tell you. So, with that being said, my personal feelings on this, I very much did like the episode. Of course, as TJ quite rightly pointed out, we have got to focus a little bit on the first 5 to 7 minutes of this. So, TJ, away you go.
You asked the question, who is Anna? Anna is irrelevant, not needed, a waste of 5 to 7 minutes of perfectly good airtime, and just something that really got me questioning whether or not I wanted to watch the rest of the episode.
That is a big fucking who the fuck is
Anna? I will preface this now. If they had put this at the start of the series, I would have, and then we watched and then the rest of the first episode. I do not know if I would have come back for episode 2.
I agree.
Because I have this personal thing, right? That I don't feel I need to be spoon-fed information. I believe that I am understanding enough of certain things that are happening, and certain things we don't. It doesn't matter if we know or we don't know. So Anna is Ellie's mum. Yes. And they felt the need. Yes, so go on.
Can I just interject in much the same way? I'm very with you on this point. In much the same way, District 9 does not need a sequel. Go and fuck yourself. You know, go.
But yeah. So Anna is Ellie's mum, and they felt the need that throughout the whole series we have never, and in the whole entire game, we never find out how Ellie is immune. It's just Ellie is immune. But they felt the need to spoon feed us like we're toddlers. That this is how it became for Ellie to be immune.
Because
I will.
It's not even original.
No,
it's not even original.
And I'm going to get. Well, I'm going to get to that because. And the fact that they didn't even they took multiple sources for their inspiration. So she's she's pregnant. So straight away, like the guys have said, it's the Blade story. She's going to get bitten while she's still heavily pregnant, and obviously that's how she's going to get her immunity. Throw on top of that I feel that they stole a major sequence from A Quiet Place. So you've got. Anna is running into a dilapidated building in the middle of fucking nowhere, like a farmhouse. There's a walker coming after her. She's heavily pregnant. She runs into, I say a walker, but it's not The Walking Dead, but an infected. She runs into the room. The creeper thing comes in, attacks her, and then the baby just plops out after she's been bitten. obviously, if those of you have seen A Quiet Place, that's pretty. Well, I'm sorry, but that's exactly how it happens. It's literally like, oh shit!
Oh no, there's kids.
It's like,
yeah,
oh, okay,
shit, how did that happen?
You know, I mean, but anyway,
now,
and obviously,
I'm just to interject. As I understand it, giving birth to a baby is quite.
It's a process. There's a process involved. You know what I mean?
I mean, don't wrong. I'm not saying that a person trying to bite your face off isn't stressful, and you might feel you're going to shit yourself.
However,
The baby is somewhat sizable turd, if you know what I'm saying.
And then, well, yeah. So then, obviously, I felt they stole the two ideas and amalgamated them together to come up with what we come up with, and I just felt like I was watching it, and I was just like, "You're fucking joking." No, this is a joke. And then like what then proceeds afterwards, all I can say is the best part of that whole 7 minutes is where Marlene shoots her in the face and it's finished. I'm literally like, thank fuck that is over. Like I'm just like I'm sitting there and I'm racking my brains into thinking we have just watched 8 episodes of one of the greatest adaptations where, okay, we've picked fault in 1 or 2 minor little moments in the series, but ultimately as a whole, we all agree this is fantastic. One of the best things we've seen in a long, long while. And then they throw that steaming pile of dog shit at us and expect us just to like chow down on it like it's a lovely Sunday dinner. It's like, I just couldn't be more pissed off with it. And I literally paused it and I was like, this is bullshit. And I really had to like take a second before I finished watching the episode. And I'm so glad that we then got into what we got into because it pulled me back in.
We were talking about it on Discord, weren't we?
Oh, I just couldn't.
What?
I couldn't understand why. Like, and I still don't understand why. I still don't understand how they thought. Like, at no point, as I've said, at no point have I ever felt cheated that I didn't know why Ellie was immune. It was never a real part of the story. It's never like she's immune. Okay, cool. And do you know what? I want to say something. I want us to come back to this because I've got something that I feel that they missed a massive fucking trick by doing this with how it ended. And it's a massive, massive thing. But the other thing, like the whole cutting the umbilical cord, quickly tie it in a knot. And it's like, oh, don't worry. Like I cut the umbilical cord before I was bitten. And then Marlene's just there like, okay, yeah, that's fine. So, yeah, the baby was there, you cut it, then you killed a thingy before you got bitten. The baby just flopping around in the corner while you're fighting. It just doesn't make logical fucking sense.
I gotta say, I'm
sorry. I just...
Right.
Everything I'd hoped from you, TJ.
Yeah, I gotta say. Now, I don't know how much bullshit this is. Supposedly, that was wrote a long time ago, and Neil Druckmann was going to get another company to do it, but then they never did it because they couldn't agree or ran out of money or enter X, Y, and Z reasons why. Suspectly, I thought when I read this, I was like, oh, so you're saying that this was your original idea. You've come up with the...
And you just wanted to get it in just any way you could.
Well, I understand why they put it in because they wanted that emotional. I'm jumping a little bit, but towards the end, Marlene says something, doesn't she?
Oh yeah, she does make the comment, which is, like I said, recently played the game. It is almost word for word what she says when Joel wakes up in the hospital. What she says is almost word for word to that point. But yeah.
Right. So. My point being is, I totally agree with you, by the way. The blade birth of the one that can't be infected, the Daywalker, or I don't know.
Well, yeah. He's born infected, isn't he?
Whatever you want.
He's like Blade's infected, isn't he? But he can still walk in daylight.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's a half-breed.
Half-breed. So basically, they've set Ellie up as a half-breed, and her mom went through a traumatic thing. And Marl, who's her best friend of years before the infection, had literally no worries at all about blowing her friend's face clean off.
Oh, best part.
Like, I agree that I loved it, but I was a bit like, I mean, I would have thought that like there'd be a bit of a more of a moment towards that instead of like, right, here's the baby. Yeah, okay, give me that. Yeah, bang. Anyway, we probably just gotta get out of here. So
the one thing the one thing I will say, I will just say, obviously, we knew from the start that her name's Ashley Johnson, right?
yes,
she is the original voice of Ellie from the games.
Correct. That is correct.
And I know we spoke last week because Troy Baker was in it, and they, I think they done him really well because they flushed out a character for him. They like gave a character they gave an anonymous character a more rounded part in the episode. And I also kind of felt like it's like, oh, they're just trying to shoehorn her a space in this game. I was like, they could have in this film, series, they could have used her so much better at some other point in the series.
I will say, Karen, Rich.
I was going to say not just that, but I also feel like the character she played was just Ellie.
Yes.
Like it was literally just Ellie. You know what I mean? But Mother Ellie, and I can kind of see I love the sort of the thematic idea of Ellie giving birth to Ellie. That's really kind of cool. But you didn't do anything interesting and unique with the character. And at this point, as good as you were with the character, that character's now Bella Ramsey's.
Yeah, I gotta say that yes. I mean, my friend said to me, he goes, "Fucking hell!" Like, because again, he's got no anything about this game, so he doesn't play the game, and he enjoyed that scene. So we had to talk about it and stuff as you do. But he did remark, because man, that character who played Ellie's mom really does look like Ellie, and it does, but like that's because she was the original.
Yeah, she was.
Face model for Ellie, so they've based Bella Ramsey off her face, if you know what I mean. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting. I will just have to quickly cover because I sort of skipped at the start. Directed, of course, by Ali Abbasi. Writers with Neil Druckmann from the game and Craig Mazin again from Chernobyl. Stars, of course, Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsey, and is it Merle?
Merle, I think is how you'd say that. Yeah.
Merle Dandridge.
Yeah.
Again, phenomenally acted. I'll even give Ellie's mom, Anna. I thought she was really good actress. I think she's very, very good. I suspect they'll do a spin-off where they'll do her story now. Because that's the TV world that we live in. And to be fair to Ashley Johnson, she probably deserves some credit. I mean, she's always been a voice actress and a mocap girl. But maybe she'd like to break into acting. Maybe this is an opportunity for her. I'm not begrudging anyone an opportunity. I would have preferred that if you were going to do a spin-off series, why not just do a spin-off series? Don't show me her death.
I tell you, if they had done a spin-off series and maybe put that as the ending, but it wasn't like it wasn't the Blade Quiet Place rip-off that it was.
Well, you'd have time to build that, though.
It would have been more palatable, more acceptable, and you'd have been like, oh, okay, cool, because then you wouldn't have felt like you're having it rammed down your throat because it's its own story, which comes to that is the logical conclusion of that story.
The problem is that, and I always liken anything that does this to Prometheus, right? Someone got in Ridley Scott's head and goes, "Oh, wouldn't it be nice to know where aliens come from?" The answer is no, because I don't need to know where aliens come from. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where aliens come from. They're aliens.
It's part of the enigma behind it. Part of the enigma behind Ellie is that we don't know.
She just, I mean, to be fair, it's almost more believable to believe that because of evolution, one person was just born immune.
Look at what is it? Contagion. Like if you've ever watched a film like Contagion, it's like some of us aren't gonna die. Some of us are immune from this virus. You know, not everyone's exactly the same.
So I'd have been happier with saying nothing about Anna and the fact that now Ellie's a daywalker than I would have. Well, because that's what I mean. Like, unfortunately, that's what she is now. Like that's how she's going to be in my mind. I'm like, oh, she's not. She is special because technically she's going to be in the next issue of Marvel. Like fucking killing
basics of the MCU.
Exactly. So, and I'm just a bit like, come on, man. You could have just went. Oh, it's such a rare anomaly that one and maybe someone else in India and someone else in Australia. You know, we don't know because you can't exactly get children and go, right, we're just going to let you get
There might
bit.
have been others that just fucking, they were killed beforehand.
Well,
Yeah,
this
they
is,
might not have
okay,
been
okay.
infected, but then...
This is my point, right? This is my point. Okay, I was going to bring it, but I'll just say it now. This is my point. By doing what you've done, you've taken away all the mystery because of what Joel says at the end when he turns round and like what happens, and she's like, oh, there were loads of them. They did tests, and you're not needed. Well, that's quite an interesting little play because it gets you thinking like, well, could there potentially be others that are immune and everything?
America's a fucking big country.
Now we know it's like, okay, let's just like half a dozen pregnant women around being munched on just as the babies are plopping out. No, there is no fucking others. And I kind of like, it takes that kind of mystery away from it. And I just felt like when you've got what Joel says in there as well, it kind of like gives you that, oh, maybe. And if Ellie, like, obviously Ellie doesn't know her origin, and what happened? Well,
when she gets the sword and then starts going around cutting their heads off, going, there can be only one.
So she's the fucking Highlander now.
Queen playing in the background.
Jesus Christ.
Look, man, they're going to go superhero with it. I'm going superhero max. I don't care.
but yeah, yeah. Can we move on to the like?
Yeah, we can move on.
Can we Act 2, the decent part?
So now we've got a lot of the moaning out of the way. Let's get back on track. Rich, have you got anything you want to add?
Rich has got.
I was going to say, fuck me in particular, guys.
Sorry, Rich.
No, just echoing what you guys say. It was unnecessary. There's no point to it. Didn't need it.
That's why I didn't say much on it because TJ basically covered, I think, all our queries on that.
As I said to you guys before we started, I said to the guys, I was like, I normally just I'm like I can let things go. I don't know, but because I knew we were doing the podcast, I've just been thinking about
stewing in your head,
and it's been going over it, and it's been fermenting, and I've just been getting more and more annoyed when I think about it. That it was just like, yeah, this is
proper grazing
bullshit.
You know, I had to watch it twice. So you know when we were messaging, and you were saying, "Have you watched it? Have you watched it? Have you watched it?" Trying to get my feelings on it. I watched that bit twice. So that was the only bit of play, and I was like, "Fucking!" So I got to watch this again now.
No, I thought that. No, it was like exactly like I said about with District 9. I don't need to know everything to do with the universe. I actually find mystery. I've mentioned it about John Wick before. Like, I think all the John Wick films are exceptional, although I do think there's diminishing returns, and I think a lot of that is due to, I think the mystique of the first film was incredible, and finding the more I found out about the world, the kind of less interested I was in it, if that makes any sense. And it's the same deal. It's like I've spoken a million times about how I hate the Hollywood bullshittery that we've seen in the show a couple of times, and that's another fucking example of it. Like every little I has to be dotted, every T has to be crossed, and it's like, no, man, like I just didn't need to see it. It was just unnecessary. I feel that screen time could have been. I'd have much rather spent it with Joel and Ellie. Like I got nothing from that.
100%.
I agree.
Nothing from that. Whereas the second part, amazing, but it would have been better with those extra 7 fucking minutes.
Yeah, because unfortunately what we got, I mean, it was a condensed episode anyway, but essentially what we got was this, here's 7 minutes of stuff you didn't really need to know. It would have made, seeing that scene makes no impact to the rest of my viewing.
No.
Like, other than I'm annoyed.
Yeah, I was going to say, it does have an impact. It pisses you off.
It'd be interesting. I really wish I'd have actually gone round to my mum's today instead of tomorrow, and spoke to my mother about it, because obviously my mum's not played the game. Yeah. So I would like to get people's opinions that have watched the show but don't know the source material. You know, was that good for them? Did they enjoy seeing that? Or
I told you, my friend did. My friend did, and he said he really enjoyed it. But I'm just like, for me, I'm like,
obviously like a bit of a bigger sample size.
Yeah,
How was it received?
Well, I suppose if we're going to look at, I imagine we're going to be looking at a couple of reviews.
Yeah, we're looking at the highs and lows on the reviews.
So that would be we might get some like a
at least
we'll see.
Petri dish of testing, shall we say?
Yeah. I was actually talking to you as I was watching it, wasn't I, TJ? And like, it took me a bit to get through the whole, oh my god, this is Ellie. because it was, you know, Ellie on screen, and I was just absolutely enamored by it. And then as the episode's going on, like you're saying, as the week's been going on, it's like I had that with the episode. Sort of 5 minutes in, my mind like sort of, you know, hang on a minute. That's a bit bullshit. And then I'm just getting angrier and angrier and angrier. And yeah, by the end, me and you were fucking ranting and raving to each other on Discord, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like I said, I was
just not needed, unnecessary, ruin the mystique. Just like you say, just like all that went through my head was when she popped on the floor was the fucking club music from Blade, you know. Yeah.
It's like, unfortunately, when I was watching it, unfortunately, when I was watching it, I was sitting there. And I was like, "Oh, Ellie, that's cool." Then I saw her pregnant. I went, "No, they're not gonna do."
Yeah, fucking put your sunglasses on.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh no!" And then, of course, she goes in the house; it's empty. I'm like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, like you say, it's just
as she gives birth.
You've ripped shit off
Blade.
from 2 other places and done it worse.
Plot twist. Total Blade ripoff. Marlene's her name, isn't it? Yeah, Marlene doesn't shoot her in the face. She just makes it out that she shoots her face. They left her, and she's actually alive. Like Blade's mum's alive, and she'll turn up in episode 11 of season 2 and be like, "I'm your mum, Ellie." So it'd be like a Star Wars ripoff as well.
Yeah. Just quickly before we move on to the second part of the episode, I actually didn't have too much of a problem with the way she just stomped in and shot her, because
it's kind of in her character.
And also I think if I was fucking if say it was you, Jay,
I knew,
that'd be how I'd do it.
I've just give birth. I'm in an emotional state.
Yeah, but
and I'm going, "Kill me, dude." And you're like, "Yeah, man, bang."
You've just asked me to kill you, and I've walked away thinking I didn't want to do it. And then, well, you're going to die anyway. This way's better. This way will save you the misery.
Oh, you know, I'm just giving back to fucking God, baby.
I kind of feel we're ruining a friendship.
Walking the earth and say,
it's getting a bit personal.
I kind of feel we're ruining a friendship here, guys. Calm down.
Jay's not quite taking this as I thought he was going to. I'm a little surprised.
Jay's like thinking,
okay, Jay?
Jay's thinking you'd come over and give him a hug and cradle him close to your bosom.
No, but like think about it.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm not cool with being killed.
Yeah, but fucking if you're going to die anyway, I'd rather you go out with some dignity and respect. Do you know what I mean?
I respect, mate.
I'd be laughing as I did it.
Placenta coming out of my body.
Mate, I wouldn't even wait till I turn. I'd be running over and fucking biting your nose off, you cunt. Right. No, I do think though Marlene's character, Marlene is very much a harsh, abrupt bitch, and so I kind of feel it was on point. And like we don't see a lot of her in the game or the series. But the little bits you do see, it's like, yeah, she is like a driven woman with one goal in mind, and that's why she's the leader of the Fireflies. And so I kind of get the whole just walking in, bam, and also it's probably easier to compartmentalize it, doing it like that rather than some long drawn out.
That's kind of the point, because the more like the example with you, if I came in and I was like, bro, I'm gonna do it, you know,
it makes it harder,
super fucking hard, man. Whereas just like I'm doing it, bam, it's done. Then it's easier for me to deal with the aftermath than it is with the build up.
And it's probably easier for Jay because he's just now dead. So
I'm haunting both of your asses when I'm dead.
Yeah, and then the first thing I'm doing is I'm coming and I'm killing Dan, because then I get all your board games uncontested.
I'd haunt people to the point where I was just an annoying ghost. So you put something down, I'd maybe just wait for you.
So you turn into my wife.
Yeah,
pretty much. You just turn into my wife because she does that all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Just annoying shit, just like putting your keys inside your car and you're just going.
But yeah,
how's that even occurred?
this what's it called? This opening bit of the episode definitely knocked some points off the episode, 100% for the episode as a whole and the season as a whole. If I'm being totally honest with you, in my opinion.
The one thing I would like to say, I just want to reiterate that I am happy that it was put where it was. That's the only thing I'm happy about. Because, like I say, if they'd put this at the start, it would have been such a harder pill to swallow.
Yeah.
And to actually get into the series.
I mean, like, because it would have been the get-off point, and especially as someone who already knows the source material. I mean, don't get me wrong, it might have been great television for other people who had nothing to do with it. You may have still done similar numbers, but you lost a lot of gamers. So
yeah, there's a golden rule of filmmaking, and it's all to do with suspension of disbelief. And it's like the rule is that your audience will only ever suspend the disbelief once during the course of a film. So the key is to make your original suspension of disbelief so big that everything else comes as a sort of logical follow on, you know, and it's why stuff gets saved for, you know, stuff that expands on something gets saved for sequels, because it's like you've already got the established thing, and then in the sequel the audience suspends disbelief. When you re-break something, which that was for all of us, you know, it creates this really jarring effect. So and it can happen over such stupid things. So the Nolan films, like the Nolan films, as great as they are completely tainted by the last one for me, for one simple thing. They're so gritty and grounded in realism, and then Batman has his spine fucking fixed. Yeah, and then gets it fixed by being punched in it. And that's the point. I'm just like, no, fuck you, you film shit. You know what I mean? Because
that's not how medicine science works.
It's just too far. And like I said to you last week, I was very nearly at that point with some of the bullshit that happened in last week. Any other TV show, any other villain other than David that would have been in last week, and I would have had very different opinions because of the whole medicine thing and Joel Commando. Again, Hollywood's just bollocks. It's breaking the realism of the world. And that again did it hugely, and it's like it's a lot less forgivable than it was last week, because it's a much bigger, like, egregious.
I think the problem with that, though, just going back onto the penicillin and everything, it's like you can't. It's very difficult to do anything else with it, because that is following, like you say,
agreed.
And it's like you can't expand this over 3 months for him to get better, you know.
Agreed.
So it's a kind of a rock and a hard place, because in a game you suspend that reality multiple times, and the grandeur of that expansion is so much more, because you're in a game. Like, you're instantly not in, like, you're not in it for realism in a sense, you know. You're in it for escapism, essentially. And so you can get away with much more grandiose.
Disbelief's bigger in a game than it is
it can be so much more
because you want to win.
And
you're literally playing that character, so you want to
win.
So,
so then when you do get these crossovers, not crossovers, sorry, when you do get these adaptions, you've got to give and take a little bit, I suppose. I mean, we can probably deal with it better than, say, because we know the content, than, like we said before, people who haven't played the game seem to have a much harsher time with, like, a lot of how this story has played out. You know, I think it's difficult.
Tried and tested cannibals.
Exactly.
But I think we've spent enough time.
I think we have.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes.
So let's get to the actual.
We spent a lot of time on 7 minutes. You know, so
that's how bad it was.
Let's get back to our one listener. Make sure that he knows all about it.
Hi, Fusey. How you doing, mate?
How you doing, mate?
Cheers, love you. We appreciate you.
He's gonna love that.
For that, man.
He is. Got a shout out. Right. So obviously the second half starts with something that we all wanted to see. I think we all agreed that we wanted to see this. It was very, very important that it was
nailed
there.
it.
Yeah,
nailed
absolutely
it.
nailed it. Love the fact that they used a real giraffe. Fucking love that tiny fact. Didn't have to CGI one in. Bella Ramsey got to experience what it would be to. I mean, that might be the first time Bella Ramsey's ever stroked a giraffe.
The joy that radiated off her just warmed my heart. Like, to the point where, like you say, that had to have been real. Like, that wasn't acted. That was genuine. Just like, oh my god, there's a fucking giraffe eating some leaves up my hand.
And how it broke, because she was in a very much. She was like. She was really in her own head, wasn't she? Like she was distracted. She wasn't she was questioning quite a lot of things, because obviously a lot has happened to her, and she was questioning a lot of what's gone on and her place in the world and everything. And it seemed like she had the world on her shoulders. That moment,
what she does.
Exactly. And I think it's kind of dawning on her, isn't it? And then you see that moment, and it's happened a couple of times where her being a child, it all comes back, like, because she's 15, she's a child, and it like that elation and that joy in seeing that giraffe, and you can just like, you see it in Joel as well.
Yeah,
Joel realizes
it's
like
contagious, isn't it?
Well, the bit I wanted to mention after that is I love, and it's from the game, where Joel gives her an out right at the end. Look,
we don't have to do this.
We could just let this go. We could just go. We just go back with Tommy. We could not do any of this. And like, what I liked about that in the game and in the TV show, it shows that he loves her now. He's their dad.
This isn't a job. Like, this is something she wants to do. And,
which is a key point to something that gets said later on in the game and episode.
Yes.
And something like we all said last week's episode quite clearly belonged to Bella Ramsey. This week quite clearly belongs to Pedro Pascal.
They've done that really well, haven't they? They back and forth between the two so well.
The way he was when Ellie was in herself, the way he was doing everything he could to try and sort of bring her back out of herself and stuff like this. And the way they showcased, like, almost the first part of it, they really hammered home this emotional vulnerability of the character because that made the contrast of what happened a bit later all the more horrifying, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Plus, you've got to see that side where, because, I mean, don't forget, we talk about Hollywood sections, but there's a very, 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 very big Hollywood, almost John Wickian style section coming up now. So I'm very glad that we saw the giraffe, because it's such a pivotal part in the game, especially when you think where she's come from to where she is to where.
Yeah, it's a moment of hope, isn't it? In the bleak, it's a moment of hope. It's a moment of triumph. It's a moment of wonder in a world where there isn't any anymore. You know?
Exactly. I also wanted to point out, like, she's still willing to go through, and I think it's the innocence of a child where
there's no half-ass in this. Mwah.
Well, exactly, but not only that, but I think she thinks like she did with the young
Sam,
not Sam, where she thinks, oh, they're just going to take some blood.
Yeah,
they're going to figure this out.
The naivety.
Yeah, where she's like. She still believes that, like, at the end of this, she's going to go probably back with Joel and have a life. And
when she says to him, "I'll follow you,"
she said, "Anywhere you want to go."
She genuinely
grow some sheep and do everything.
That.
Yeah,
you know, she from the bottom of her heart, that is her intention, isn't it? Unfortunately, once we get to the hospital, we find out that she can actually indeed save the world, but that is not the case.
I
kind of just hopping back quickly though on that. I kind of feel Joel has that naivety as well. That maybe that's all that it's like.
Agreed,
it's because
I think that's hope. I think in his mind,
possibly
it's more hope, because at the start when he realizes he's got to do it, he's like, well, it doesn't matter what happens to her because she's just a
lab
delivery.
Yeah.
Well, she's a
not a lab rat. She's
really
a lab rat. She's an experiment. You know, she's gonna. Yeah, they're just gonna stick her with needles and try and find a cure.
And also, he's been around for 20 years. He's heard this how many times in 20 years?
Yeah, probably.
The chance of a cure.
Not his first rodeo.
They're almost done it. The fireflies are on it. They've got medical something in this part of the country, world, etc. So now, you know, he's probably like, man, if we could cure it, and then I get Sally,
and knowing what he's got to go back to at Tommy's place as well.
Yeah, like you know, there's a chance that he might
a real life
regain a child, a life,
a family,
happiness. You know, some phase of normality. So, although part of him probably thinks like, well, maybe that's the point where he says we can just ignore this. Maybe part of him went, what are they going to do? Would it just be blood? I mean, spinal fluid's probably important. And then you start rolling those ideas after just seeing the giraffe, and you start going, I don't know how much I'm willing to do this now.
Yeah, I would argue that he's already ran through this possibility in his head, because it does not take him. His course of action takes him a moment to decide. You see the point, don't you?
Yeah.
You see the point.
I love how he just keeps stopping.
Yeah.
Thinking like, oh, he's he's trying to work out how he's going to do this.
And he's already considered the possibility that this isn't going to end well for himself or anybody.
Doesn't matter.
Like you say, I think it's more hope than anything else that's driving him. I think he's kind of fully because like once what happens, he has that conversation with Marlene. There is no fucking around. As I say, you see a point where his face changes and his mind's just like, right, this needs to happen, this needs to happen, this needs to happen.
Like we did for Bella last week.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
the
range of emotions he shows, unreal.
At that point so after the giraffes, they walk in, they get like flashbanged by the fireflies, and he gets smacked in the back of the head, wakes up in the hospital bed. That whole that dawning on him about like when we what I did like is they kind of expanded on more what they were doing with Ellie. They expanded on they said the scientists of X, Y, and Z. Like in the game, it's like, oh yeah, they want to remove this and do this, and they're going to do some tests. So it wasn't kind of clear that they even knew that they possibly could make a vaccination, which kind of like, okay, I kind of felt when you're playing the game, you're like, well, okay, I kind of get why Joel's like, you could just be murdering this girl for no reason. So that's why you go.
That's because we haven't specifically stated that's basically the scientists, the cordyceps is in cerebral cortex.
Yes,
they need to kill her and extract her brain.
Yes, for those who haven't, because it grows all over the brain, doesn't it? The cordyceps thing. But obviously, the way she explains it in this, the dialogue she uses, and like it's very much more in depth, in detail that they actually, and it kind of makes it more real and more. The fact that what Joel
choice even
it makes it exactly
it's the weight
exactly because you're like in the game you're kind of like I say you feel like, well, this is just a shot in the dark here. This is the best. It's the best shot we've got because we've never had an immune person before. But it's still a shot in the dark. We don't know what we're going to achieve with this. So Joel's like, well, fuck this shit. I'm not letting you put her through that for what could turn out to be nothing. Whereas this one, it's like, they are like 70-80% that they could turn this into a cure. This is real. This is like, the precipice of changing humanity forever. So it does make that decision like so much harder. Well, so much harder, but I don't think it mattered. I don't think it was so much harder for him. I think it's made us to feel it was so much harder a decision, but I don't feel it was for Joel. I don't ever feel it was for Joel.
There was never a choice. There was never a choice. There is only you are trying to take his girl. He has already lost one girl. He is not losing another one while he still draws breath.
Exactly what Pedro said. That is like his thought pattern when playing Joel was, I'm already lost my daughter. I'm not losing another daughter.
It's just no way in hell. And then
the world be damned for it.
So and the thing is, like Marlene, the look Marlene, because obviously this conversation happens between Pedro and Pedro says something, and Marlene knows he's about to do something. Because she tells the guards, doesn't she? She's like, taking the fuck out of here.
If he moves, shoot him.
Untoward, bust the cap. And then Joel ends up killing them and going fucking Rambo, doesn't he?
Can I just say,
full John Wick?
Like that scene, like what they did by overplaying the audio,
music.
like the whole and the slow mo and the camera pans and everything. It was amazing. It was
stunning.
It was a piece of
stunning.
We've spoken about the cinematography in this series quite a bit, but that was like on point as one of the best parts. Like it was phenomenal. The whole way it was filmed.
It managed to give you the emotion. Like you felt almost what it to him.
Well,
it's especially. I'm just gonna get this out. Especially when like that guy, he kills that one guy and the other guy gives up, and you just see it in Joel because it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah,
Doesn't
it's one of those where any other show, any other way of filming that, and you'd be like, yeah, go on, do it.
Yeah.
Whereas like you're like, oh my god, you know,
I'm just glad I'm not in his way because
sort of,
it doesn't matter.
And
you just like, you know, the first couple of people, you're like, yeah, go on, Joel, and then by the end of it, you're just like, just run away.
Yeah.
Just run away.
Yeah.
Like,
Drop
this
your
is
gun
a
and
man
go. He's going to
possessed.
kill you.
Like,
It's like
you ain't.
Carry on.
Well, no,
You
it's
ain't,
good.
you ain't
Rich
getting
finish.
through this. Yeah, you're not getting through this alive. You know, only one of you is walking out that room alive. And spoiler alert, it ain't fucking you. So
It
just
ain't none of
leave,
yous.
man.
Yeah.
Just leave.
I like
so.
we spoke last week about like in the game, it's like we were like they can't play it out like it does in the game because Joel's not fucking Rambo, and it is Rambo
Yeah, he is
in the
actually
game.
Rambo.
But
yeah,
Well, look, say John Wick. It's just precision.
yeah.
It's literally
dead,
but it did.
dead.
We were a little bit late. It was like, yeah, I don't know how they can they film him going through like multiple, you know, but the way it was filmed and the way they did it and the way they encapsulated that whole section, it just felt perfect.
Because it wasn't filmed like a Hollywood gunfight.
It wasn't dive over the counter,
like
explosions,
gunfight.
like hip
That's what it
action
felt
shooting.
like.
You know, considering
it felt like, Rich, you'll appreciate this. The Daredevil corridor scene.
Yeah. It had that sort of, you know, the old boy sort of inspired Asian cinema sort of way of doing things. Yeah, because it wasn't filmed like a Hollywood fight. It didn't feel. So even though it was one of the biggest action set pieces of the series by a country fucking mile, it didn't, to me at least, feel like something from a Hollywood blockbuster like some of the other things I've moaned about. You know,
well, I mean,
it still felt very in keeping to its roots.
Well, it's hit you with emotion at that point anyway, whether you know what's coming or not. But like anyone, especially TJ, you've got a child, you know, a daughter, no less, you know, so you're watching it and you just, you must be going, I don't know, man. Yeah, probably.
There's no question. That's like the kind of thing, like if you're in that position, there isn't anything I wouldn't do. There isn't any length I wouldn't go to. There isn't any one that I wouldn't put down, other than my wife probably. In that position, if push comes to shove. If push comes to shove, like and it's right. It is the right how he acts and everything, and in that moment is just and right in his mind. Like I say, the whole saving the world thing. That fades into the back.
It doesn't matter because without her, it's not a world.
There is no world for him.
It's not a world worth living in. He's not interested.
It's a very selfish choice. It's a super selfish choice. But I understand his selfish choice.
I get it.
100%.
Like, I don't have a daughter. Like, I'm not a parent, but like my sister is like my best fucking friend in the world. And like I say, if you all came to me and we were in a similar situation, and you were like, you know, your sister needs to die to make this happen. Like, mans I've known for 25, 30 years, you take one step forward and I'm gutting you like a fish. Do you know what I mean? That's just the way it is. Like, so I mean, I can't imagine.
I mean, love is a crazy, crazy powerful drug. People will do unspeakable things in the name of love. So whether it'll come out and the internet's got big torn, you know, whether the internet's torn or not, like whether Joel made the right choice, the bad choice, whatever. I think anyone
honestly
genuinely should see.
He made the right choice for him. Like everybody else, he made the right choice.
I don't think if anyone else was in that position, if anyone else, hand on heart, can turn around and say that they're in that position, and they'd be like, they'd just walk away. No, I'm sorry, but no. If you had been through everything that Joel had been through, the world is insignificant without her. The world, he might as well just walk. They're going to walk him. I think she says walk him to the bridge. Well, he might as well jump off the fucking bridge. Because what's the point anymore? And I think that's what they did so well in the game. That's what they did so well in this series. Like, you come to the realize like he can't be without her. He knows, like, at that moment, it's like, I'm done with it. Like, without this person in my life, I've got nothing else to go back for. Tess is long gone at this point. Like, even Tommy, like, Tommy's got his own wife. Tommy's got a child on the way and everything. So it's like, I've literally got nothing. She is my everything.
Well, he says to her, doesn't he? when he talks about him trying to commit suicide, because that how you got that, and he goes, "Yeah, the guy."
Oh yeah, forgot about
the
that.
guy
But
was
yeah,
yeah.
And then he says like, what is it now? Like he says something like, she was my reason for existence, and that's changed now. And there's that solemn moment of like her going out, and he looks at her, and you go, "Oh,
yeah." The
So-
the emotion in his voice as he was talking to her in the car was just, oh, my heart was just breaking. Like when he said, "I'm sorry," like I just felt that on every emotional level, like a human being could feel that, man. Because now as well, though, because of what he's just done, like she can't know what he's just done for her because she'll never speak to him again because she would have chosen to do that.
Yeah,
I mean, like 100%.
Marl is right when she points out. She goes, "Well, what would she want?"
Yeah.
And like Joel knows it. You see it in his eyes. Joel knows it. He knows that like what he's doing.
He robbed her of the decision of it. You know what I mean? So
and
that's how selfish
I think that's why it was so like him killing her. So obviously, Joel's gone through his thing. He's gone into the operating room. He's killed the doctor, taken her, and then he's confronted by Marlene. At the bottom of the elevator, they have that little thing. The fact like he's got to kill her. Like when he shoots her and she's wounded and she's like, "Oh, just leave," and everything. It's like I can't. You've got to die because you will come for her.
Yeah,
and that's why. That's another reason why, like you say, it's so thingy when the guy's like, "Oh, I give up," and he's like, "It doesn't matter." Because if I don't, if I don't kill you all right here, right now, this doesn't end.
I will be seeing you again.
And so it's like, I have to wipe the slate clean for us to move forward from this, and that means executing every last motherfucking one of you.
Scorched earth, motherfuckers.
Exactly. But then that whole thing, like I say, where she comes to, and it's that thing where it's like I was saying earlier, like he turns around and says, "Oh, there was a load of you. You're all like, turns out you're not special. Like there's a load of people that are immune, and so they don't need you anymore." And that's got to be quite hard for her to take in because she's like, she's like, oh, whether or not she doesn't ever come across as like she feels entitled because she is special, but there's still got to be like, I feel she kind of built herself up to be like she was going to be the savior, like she was like, I'm doing this because I'm saving.
There's a reason for going through everything she went through. Now there wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. And then and so obviously you understand while she's despondent about it, but and then that poignant last scene, which we said, didn't we, that like I had my suspicions that they would end with him shooting Marlene, it would fade to black, and we wouldn't get that last little scene. That would be the spoiler for season 2, like what would go in, because as we said, they love it in Hollywood, don't they? Leave it on a fucking cliffhanger. But we're right. So glad that bit was just like, promise me, and it's such a poignant ending in the game, in the series. It's probably the best. Exactly, it's the best ending.
He lies to her twice. He lies to her twice. That was almost a different ending in the.
Oh, really? I didn't know. What were they going to do in the game?
So they were going to have them walk off, but together. But slightly start to separate to signify that like a rift's been caused. But I think they thought it was a little bit too on the nose, and it was better to leave it as the game.
No, that ending, I remember that ending in the game just being fucking blown away by it because it was so ballsy, and like I just said, it was just like it's one of the most fucking mic drop moments in video games. That was the exact point where I was like, you can no longer dismiss the notion of narrative in video games anymore. Like this is some serious shit, man. Masterful. And I'm like I said to you, if they hadn't have ended it exactly there, I'd have righted because it's just it's almost the entire point of the series.
Yeah.
It was such a good ending because it was open ended. There was potential for a sequel. But it was very much like you could close the book there.
Oh yeah. It's the perfect ending, like you say, in that regard, because it's got so many different and it kind of like leads in. You could go anywhere with the sequel. Like it leaves you open to be like, we can do anything with this now because we've got this like overhanging cloud over the pair. And how do we progress this now into a sequel? We can go this way, that way, or like you say, we don't do a sequel and we leave it as a masterpiece as is, just one hit, one and done, and marvel at its greatness.
It still would have been fantastic telly. It still would have been fantastic game, regardless of whether it got its sequel and whether it will get a third sequel, a trilogy out of the whole thing, which they probably will because money. But now, obviously, that being said, we can't give any spoilers for what we know of part 2. But what have you heard on the grapevine? Before we do our breakdown of the whole of season 1, we'll just close the book.
What I sent you guys the other day was the only. I've tried to steer clear of bits and pieces. Obviously, it was just something that came out, an article that Neil Druckmann and I keep forgetting his name. Is it Craig Mazin?
Craig Mazin,
that's it. So they come out and they turned around and said that so when someone asked them about will the second season encapsulate the whole second game, and they were like, laughed it off and were like, no chance. The game is so much larger. It will be split over 2, potentially like more than 2 series to tell this.
3 would be an extreme.
Well, to put it into context, the first game was, what did we say, 14 hours. The second game is 24 hours. So it's close to double. So you can kind of work out, okay, fair enough, they can. And what I know in so far as where I've got, what I spoke to you about, Jay, yesterday, like I can kind of see how they would break it into 2 seasons.
Yes.
Three just seems like a stretch, and 3 would kind of seem like a massive cash grab. And also, to that point, you know, like this is the other thing that Hollywood does. Draw shit out, and when it doesn't need to be, to do the cash grab, but also by the time you hit that, the story is just gone. The story's evaporated because you've tried to cram too much filler in because it's not enough.
That's not just something limited to Hollywood as well. Like you've probably heard, and you've definitely heard me talk of an anime called Attack on Titan. There's the way they've handled the final season for this has been the most wild shit you've ever heard in your life. So you had the final season. There was part 1. Then midway through that, they announced that it's going to be 2 parts, and then literally 20 minutes after part 2. All of the second part of the season finished. It ended, and you were like, "That's not an ending. What's going on?"
Weird ending.
Then after that, they announced that actually there's a 3rd part coming, and then they announced that actually they're splitting the 3rd part into 2 parts as well. And we had an hour drop last Saturday, and we've got to wait another 6 or 7 weeks for the last hour of it.
The last season went from 1 season to 5.
Yes,
effectively, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And the thing is, I still can't get enough of it, man.
Cream that content, boys.
Yeah. I'm bitching about it, but that last hour was some of the most wild TV I've ever seen in my fucking life. Jail back up, it was unbelievable shit, man. So at least they're doing it justice. So I can definitely see why they'd split it 2 seasons for real, 3 you're taking a piss.
Yeah, I feel you taint it. You like everything seems to go on. Like everyone talks about Lost went on far too long. Prison Break, if you like Prison Break, like the first season was groundbreaking, and then it just got diluted and kind of felt like they're on the fly making the story. And I kind of feel
season 4, we're back in the prison.
We're in the 4th fucking prison, and you're like, Jesus Christ, this guy's like mental. But and I kind of feel like from what I've played so far in the game, I kind of feel that I'm at a point where you could actually probably do halfway in like at the end of the second series, and
this would be a good end point.
And then you can do the final assault in the 3rd. But if they drab it into 3, I haven't played like past this point, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I can't see where there'd be enough content in what I'm going to play now to drag it into. I might be wrong, but there isn't.
There's a lot of content in the game, and it is sort of broke into 4 acts really, because you've got the intro, you've got the prologue, then you've got Act 1, shall we say, then Act 2, then there's a sort of mixed thing.
But then you can always like as we've said, how things play out in the game, you can condense a lot of that stuff because there is a lot of nonsense. It's not nonsense in the game. Yeah, exactly. But it would be nonsense to put it in. Like a lot of the stuff on the horse where you're walking around just looting buildings. Like, I've got to fix this generator and run a cable over here, that kind of stuff. Like, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that you don't need. And there's a lot of scenes that I feel that, you would cut you would cut. I mean, they've cut a lot of heavy stuff out of the original game in a sense. I mean, you work it out. They've done it in under 9 hours, and the game's 14, so they've cut 5 hours of gameplay out to tell the story. Well, more than that because they did a whole episode that wasn't part of the story. So you kind of think, okay, if they take a 24-hour game, they could condense that down into 20 hours.
Probably 20, yeah.
Do
20
two 10 hours.
20.
Yeah, do 2
9
to 10 hours.
Though.
Sorry?
Here's my concern.
Yep.
I don't think in the TV show they'll even show quite a pivotal moment. I think we all know which part I'm on about.
Oh, they can't
No, one point being is I don't think you'll get to that until about episode 4. I think they're going to do a lot of character building in the town. You know what town I'm on about as well.
Yeah.
We're going to go into spoilers, so it's making this very difficult, and we should never start this conversation. Anyway, so I think they're going to do a lot of building around a couple of characters that have already been mentioned that may be in. So I think the prologue would be there. Episode 4.
Okay. Right. The only way, if you were going to make it into 3 seasons, the way I could see doing that is expand on what you've said and have that thing end.
Season 1.
Happen at the end of the first season. But you can fuck with the order of stuff from the game as well.
Yes.
So the flashback scene that,
you can put a lot of flashbacks earlier.
You could put that in beforehand, and you could spend an hour just on that, couldn't you? You know, the whole, we don't really want to talk about it, but the whole...
But hang on, if you put in the flashback, the scene that I think you're talking about, or some of the flashback stuff, if you put that before, doesn't it lose some of its, like... if you put it before the incident...
I know
you lose some of its but
you gain, you lose, you get more of, by having that come after the incident, you get more of a sort of feeling about it. However, by having it before, you'll build an even bigger connection, so that incident will be more painfully initially.
Or how about,
do you know what I mean?
How about we just get more of like stuff that's, you know, more. We do like the game where the game reopens up is X amount of years later. What about like
they're starting production this year?
So what about if we see like the first couple of episodes are more based on more based and like stuff that maybe isn't even in the game, because they're not adverse. They're not adverse to doing, because we say Bill and Frank. You know, we're not they're not averse to telling their own story in a sense. So maybe
you've got to do the journey back.
Yeah.
So that's 3-4 episodes. Then you've got the village and
when you say the journey back, you're talking about the journey back in the snow.
I'm talking about the scenes you never saw. I'm talking about
the journey back to the town.
Yeah,
but they're at the town. They're at, like, if you remember at the end of the episode, they're literally on the cliff. The town's below them.
Yeah.
That's when she asks him the question. It's like, we've got a 5-hour hike ahead of us. They go for the hike, and then she stops him. They can see the town in, like, down at the bottom of the mountain they're on, cliff, whatever hill.
Yeah, you're right.
And then he turns around. That's when she says, promise me that, like, you know, blah blah blah.
Yeah, and what you said happened.
Yeah, so like. There's no traveling back there, but you could do like a couple of episodes on
the stories.
I mean,
you're going to age them a year, aren't you?
Yeah,
you're going to age her a year. That's what they'll do, because it gives her more time to age another year for season 2.
Of
what she'd have to do, and you can age her all the way to the point.
I definitely think
it's going to end. Where I assume it'll probably end, if you want to give it a TV.
I mean, that is probably the most shocking ending of a season that they could ever do. Yep. So it would be right on point to drag.
Like I said before, there's sort of this show has now made bank. And this is something I said to you in particular, because of the very nature of the second season, you are fucking with a lot of the fundamentals that people really enjoyed about this season very early on. So it would very much surprise me if they wouldn't want to try and milk that cash cow a little more.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well,
I can definitely see that happening. However, I don't know how on board I am for that.
Well, one thing they did say is, and I hope this is not in like not retaliation, in like people have come forward and said, oh, like it's a world with like infected and we don't ever see infected.
Yes,
and they've come out and said we will be.
That's a plot device.
Yeah, well, I know it's a plot device. What I'm saying is, we would initially, like Neil Druckmann and Craig Banter said, we expect to see a lot more in upcoming seasons.
I was going to get to that.
So, like, it kind of, like, are we? Could be the filler that fills out that second season.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
what they'll do is they'll not heavy monsters, but more like, oh look, here's some of the action fights that you probably didn't see in the first game. So we'll give you story around the town. Now it's Joel, because you want to keep Pedro on for another season at least, don't you? Do you know what I mean? You want at least him for a couple more seasons, I'd argue, because he's Pedro. So you know, you want to keep him as much as you can. You want to show as much as you can with those two characters some more, because they're the people who are bringing in people. It's like this whole discussion we had last week about, oh, what about changing Bella Ramsey? Now, Neil Druckmann came out. The only way they'd change Bella Ramsey is if she wanted to leave herself.
She owns the run. She owns it now.
Yeah. So I kind of think that if I'm a TV executive who doesn't give a furly fuck about the video games, I'm thinking about my bottom line, which is like, right, this is hit TV.
Just be careful on what we say here.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I was like,
I realised where I was going with it.
There's you already insinuated quite heavily, and I was like, should we cut this out?
Can I just say that this video game has been out for many, many years? Anyway, I'm not saying anything.
But you've also
my defense.
You have got people that are coming to it,
True.
not
never
as gamers,
played it,
just from TV
True.
shows. So
but
I'm sitting here like.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to work my way back now.
Let's go. Let's go.
Thank you for pointing it out more.
I didn't want you to go into anything else, man, because I was already like, yo. So yeah, what did we all think then?
Yeah, sorry, go on.
The season as a whole, then, like now that it's completed.
Well, hang on. Before do we want to do reviews of this episode first and then go into the season as a whole? Would you want to? Which way round do you want to do it?
Well, we've got to do our reviews of this episode. Final sort of our shout outs of like what.
No, I mean like that's what I meant. Yeah, the general viewer consensus.
Yeah. So as we always do, kids, we always do user reviews. I choose a couple of the lowest scoring ones, and then we choose a couple of the highest scoring ones, hoping we can find people who have enjoyed. Oh, we've got some 3 out of 10s already, 4 out of 10.
Did Rebecca Smith Liverpool put in anything this week?
Oh,
it's Rachel. It's fucking Rachel, not Rebecca. It's Rachel.
How many emails have you sent to TJ in the last week?
Can I just tell you something?
Funny.
You're a fucking moron. Right, I got a 2 out of 10. Ooh, man, there are more 2 out of 10s on here than I would have thought.
That's because I gave up after watching the first 7 minutes. I'm like, fuck this shit, throw it in a bin.
This is a load of bollocks. Right, see if I can find a nice 2 out of 10 with a... Well, this one's called Fast Forward Fast. Fast Forward Fast. Right, this sounds interesting.
You're already off to a bad start, dickhead.
Hang on, I might agree with them if they're going to talk, if they're going to just besmirch the first...
So this is Don Leon, 12,000? Yeah, 12,000. 14th of March, he posted this, or she, or whoever posted this. This is now extremely sloppily told story, reaches the nadir of entertainment in view of grandiosa of the original. I don't know how you strung that
that's
sentence together.
Lots of big words which make no sense.
Yeah.
It's like...
I feel that maybe this might be a second language.
Either that, or he thinks he's the smartest man in the room, where really he's an idiot.
What, he does like his big words.
Cool.
One barely comprehensible idea follows the next. At the beginning, a heavily pregnant woman flees through the woods into a house where she is attacked by one of the zombies. Okay.
Yeah.
Not zombies, but whatever. which could actually already be considered extinct. What? Hold on, wait a minute. Where she is attacked by one of the zombies, which could actually already be considered extinct because you haven't seen any for a while. Oh, I think he's trying to make a joke about.
Right, yeah, but there isn't any in the series.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyways, she manages to kill the monster with a kitchen knife.
What kind of fucking knives has he got in his kitchen? It's a fucking flick
for real,
knife.
man.
What
Like,
the shit?
I wouldn't come round to yours if you fucking asked me for dinner, I'm telling you.
Fucking
What's on the menu? Me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
While hurriedly giving birth to her baby. Unfortunately, she gets bitten in the process, sighing. Right.
What, he is, or was she sighing?
Is she, or both?
She's like,
I mean, I will agree. I did sigh. The sighs were had at that point in time.
So sighing, she gives the child to the Firefly crew, and asks for her death, which is kindly granted. That's the end of the paragraph. He's not giving any more about that.
Okay,
right?
cool.
But don't worry, none of that matters anyway. Because in the meantime, our heroes... So he's got no idea that this is time disconnect. He couldn't work out that when she said, call her Ellie, was talking about our protagonist, Ellie. Excellent. Good time. So we know something about him. All right. Don't worry, none of that matters anyway, because in the meantime, our heroes, Joel and Ellie, feed giraffes and are captured by the Fireflies. If you think it's about saving humanity now, you're wrong. Because while Ellie is already in surgery waiting for her brain amputation, Joel manages to shoot down all the Fireflies, which seems circus-ready, incapacitated like annoying flies.
They are. That's great. Brain amputation. That is amazing. I don't know what. I want to give him a round of applause just for that. That's amazing. Right? Can I just So he's. Am I reading this right? That he's saying that this is all happening in exactly the same time frame.
That's what it sounds like, but let's be honest, like sentence structure isn't their forte.
Because I was just going to say, who does he think the fucking people are at the start? Did he just think like, oh, they've fucking thrown this in for shits and giggles?
Yeah, just for lols.
He hasn't finished, guys. He hasn't finished.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what this?
So he's got the ending as well.
Another plot thread.
That's it. It was another plot thread.
Yeah.
So then he ends with, then the two take the car home. That's it.
The car home. Just like it was a Sunday drive. Fuck it.
Yeah, missed the point there, didn't you, sunshine?
So what could follow next season? I see only way out. Joel, who is actually Dr. Frankenstein, has grown the mutation himself and is making sure that it can't be cured or something.
It's the only time.
Was he watching the same TV? Is there a bootleg copy of this made by some?
The only time in the history of existence where all three of us have not been competing for something to say.
I'm just confused.
Just went, what?
I'm just confused. I once again, I hark back because I love the scene so much, but Billy Madison, the ramblings that you have just said have just made us all fucking stupider. Because I don't get it. Was he watching this program?
I don't know. Is he trying to be funny? Is that meant to be?
I tell you, he's succeeding at being stupid. Is what he's doing.
He's definitely managed that. So, Don Leon, 12,000.
That's not his IQ, by the way, people.
Jesus Christ, 12. Take the zeros off.
Man, like, again, any review that doesn't actually praise, that is just wholly negative and doesn't say, holy shit, you know what, that Pedro Pascal can act a little bit. Like, he's just an idiot, aren't you?
I mean, hang on. Sorry. I've got it. I've understood. I've figured it out. What was the name? What was the name? Not him. What was the name? The title of his review?
Fast forward fast.
He watched it in fucking fast forward. That's what he did. It was like fast forward, right? Okay, yeah, I get that. Yeah, okay, yeah, cool, done. Right, now I can write a review. He watched it in 3.5 minutes on like times 32 fast forward. I get it.
Wow.
Makes complete sense now.
Come on, Jay, find another, hopefully more coherent.
Well, I mean,
hoping against hope there, Rich.
Oh, I like this one. It's 3 out of 10. Boring episode and series in general. So let's see what Atlantic Pirate K has got to say about the show. The series began to fall from the beginning of the 3rd episode. Oh, he's one of them.
Yeah, let's go.
He's one of them.
Unfortunately, could be somebody we know, Jay.
Yeah, could be. Unfortunately, the beginning was very promising and promising excitement, drama, and even horror. But since the beginning of the 3rd episode, the series is heading in a downward direction due to the increase in boredom and slow events, and the series has turned into a boring political direction. Very Western agendas. Political.
I wonder if he's more going not so much political, but more like with the movements. Like there's heavy on the obviously there's the gay relationship between Bill and Frank. Then you could say the having the deaf child. You've got the potential gay relationship between Riley and
I've always found people that label that sort of stuff as sort of political, like, to be quite mystifying.
Yeah. Well, and also like you're looking, every strong lead is a female. You know, it's all encompassing all of those kind of things, isn't it? Yeah, which is complete fucking bullshit and misses the whole complete point of the fucking series. Just idiot.
Should just point out to everyone, they're actors. They're just acting. That's all
and it's people like that are genuinely pity. Like, I know a few people that genuinely couldn't get past it's too, I don't want to see 2 gay guys, and I'm just like, well, in that case, I feel really sorry that you missed out on incredible storytelling.
Yeah.
You know, because of that. Because I feel, my soul genuinely felt enriched from
100%.
having seen
100%.
You know what I mean?
Like, well, I happened to have a conversation with someone today about episode 3. And they pointed out their views because, it's just a gay love story, isn't it? And I went, well, it's a love story. And it involves gay people, I will say that. But it's an incredible episode.
It transcends the fact of what they are. Like the episode, it doesn't matter that it's 2 men. It could have been 2 women. It could have been a heterosexual relationship. It transcends their. It makes no like the story in itself is fantastic.
It's the love of 2 people. Stop in a trying to assign a gender or something to it.
You know, it's such a bullshit argument, isn't it? Exactly. Like the whole, like you'd think in 2023. I get there are bigoted people out there, but just accept it for what it was, which was fantastic filmmaking. TV making. Yeah, fantastic storytelling done by like amazing actors who were so on point. Like everything in that episode is like, for me, 2nd best episode of the series. On point, brilliant, start to finish. And the fact that it wasn't part of the game, it's completely original, was something that was
floored me.
Yeah,
like unexpected.
Yeah, exactly.
Also for those naysayers, it was hinted at that those 2 men were gay in the game.
Well, they were gay, 100%.
It's not new. It's not put in for political reasons. That's storyline. That was storyline. So don't worry about it. Didn't affect you. You're not gay now, so don't worry.
Oh,
don't worry about it. Get out the closet. Jesus Christ. Anyway, what else he
One
says?
doth protest too much.
Exactly. So now he says, I did not like the series at all. After saying that it started off good.
Really well.
Now he didn't like the stories at all. Okay. So I did not like this series at all. I felt frustrated and disappointed. Both applied to him. I even think that the reviews are exaggerated and not deserved. This series cannot have an overall rating of more than 6 or 7 out of 10. He's not finished though, kids.
No,
he's got more to say. He's got more to say. I am
I actually, when we
completely
talk about the
disappointed.
series as a whole, actually, there's something about that I want to bring up.
Okay.
Yeah.
He now finishes with, "I'm completely disappointed. I can't believe I wasted this time watching such a boring and poor quality series. Wow. Wow.
Idiot.
That's delusional. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I'm not saying you
Unfortunately,
have to like the
sir,
content,
your
but just
bias is showing.
poor quality. Poor quality.
I would love to know, right? What I would love to know is like when you fill out a review, if you had to fill out like a little background form before you did, like what's your favourite TV series? No, not about like giving personal people's information. I'm not like I want this person's address so I can like go and like give them a slap. I mean,
You
like
know, when they
just
interview juries to make sure they don't have stupid fucking opinions.
Because I'd like to know a little bit of his like what he's expecting to get out of this. So if he comes in and goes, "Oh, like my favourite TV series is fucking, I don't know, Alvida St. Pet or something," then you're like, "Oh, okay, the geezer's fucking living in 1986." All right, it's a bit, but you know, but then if he comes in and goes, "Oh, I'm a fan of this, and this," so he understands like the genre, he understand, you know, and he genuinely understands good storytelling, great acting, and amazing cinematography, then you can go, okay, his point might be a little bit more relevant because he's someone who understands this medium. But if, like we say, we've got this geezer, just all he does every day is watches like Third Rock from the Sun, and that's, you know, that's his favourite thing, and that's all he ever watches. Coming into this ain't going to be your cup of tea. So, do you know what I mean?
Something really annoys me is when people can't mistake them disliking something from something being inherently bad. Like, there's a very, very distinct, clear-cut difference. Just because, like, even if you hated every second of the content of The Last of Us, I don't know how on God's green earth you could objectively argue it wasn't well-made crap.
Yeah. Well, I tell you,
because it was
something.
You know, just.
I'm gonna give him another shout out here. He's gonna have fucking kittens because he's getting 2 in 1. Right. So Fusey messaged me the other day and said to me about like he started watching the series, messaged me about season 1 and was like, "You could have warned me how like emotional it was." And I messaged him again like a couple of days later and said, "How are you getting on?" He said, "Well, to be honest, I'm struggling because I'm not a fan of this genre of the like dystopian apocalyptic future type thing, you know."
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna stick with it because like the way we've explained it with like the acting and bits and pieces and stuff, he wants to see it through because he like the first couple of episodes are very much about that, aren't they? But then it gets past that point. And he's like he's open to it. He did say to Richie like he's gonna watch it like you watch stuff, like probably in 2 chunks to make it easier for him to set off to watch. But I kind of
anything you're sort of struggling with, to say that works for me because I'm ADHD, the human being, you know what I mean? So like it's really beneficial because otherwise, I'll get through a whole episode, but then I'm not giving it. I'm on my phone for the last 25 minutes. I'm not paying attention, you know.
But that's what I mean. Like he's very accepting of the fact that okay, this isn't my genre of stuff, but the quality of the acting, the like the dialogue, the way it's like everything, the way it's set and everything, it eclipses the things that I don't like about it. So that's why I want to persevere.
Good art of any medium, and that's what like a high level storytelling, high level filmmaking, high level TV making, that it is art. You know, like good art transcends any notion of genre. You know, because you might not like the setting, but the theme will be something that can speak to you. You know,
you can objectively not like anything to do with the Avatar films. You can't deny the quality of what's been gone into them.
Well, I always Jay, I'll always tell you this, like Grand Theft Auto as a series is not something I'm massively keen on. 5's probably the one I liked the most, but like 3, like it came out, it revolutionized the game industry. I didn't like the game, like personally, I didn't get on with it at all. I found it was a buggy, glitchy piece of shit. However, just because I personally dislike it, I still objectively recognize that game changed the gaming landscape for everybody. You know, just because I didn't like it doesn't mean that it wasn't great. It just meant it wasn't to my taste. You know,
I remember thinking the same, and we'll talk about it just because we're talking about the subject now. But Last of Us Part 2 came out, and obviously that had some quite highs and quite low review scores. Now, personally, the story takes some twists that I wasn't overly happy with, but it's not my story. Right? I can enjoy something because it was well made, and I will say this. So when I read, like we are now, reading 2 out of 10 or 0 out of 10, which is a ridiculous score, by the way. Anyone, don't go around giving 0 out of 10. 1, everyone deserves 1 for effort, so fuck that. Nonsense off. But the people were giving it 0 out of 10, and I was reading the reviews going, we can't give it 0 out of 10 because it's an 8 out of 10, even if you take away the story in its entirety, because of the sheer amount of graphical and behind systems that are going on in this game. It's 7 at very, very lowest, because to give something a 0 out of 10, it means you've got to take away all the hard work. It means basically you've got no game.
Yeah.
And I just can't stand it. That's why we do this, because I can't stand these people.
But I'm going to chime in on this now then, because as opposed to later, because this is something when we were going to talk about reviewing the season as a whole, I want to make it very abundantly clear, because there's this huge fucking trend, particularly when it comes to numbered reviews, that people's perceptions are fucking all over the shop. So 5, right, is average.
Yes.
Okay. 5 is average. There's this horrible misconception, particularly in the game industry, that anything under a 7 or 8 is abject garbage that's fit only for the bin. That is not true. That is absolutely not true. Stuff that is 5 is decent.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's
okay. It works.
Like, yeah. And it's enjoyable. It's not shit.
It's middle of the road.
There's exactly that.
It's
not game changing. It's not fucking genre, bending and destroying. It's not going to have the best, if it's a TV show, it's not going to have the best acting you've ever seen. But there's enough there for it to be objectively annoying, okay? So I would actually argue, in terms of just production, like, you take all the fucking, the content of The Last of Us away in terms of production, shows a 5. Straight up 5, because I say you give it 5 marks out of production, 5 marks in terms of, like, narrative.
Narrative, acting, story.
Yeah, absolutely. So it just really annoys me when you see people that get stuff. So if I gave something, say, a 7, a lot of people go, "Right, that's really shit," and I'm like, "No, it's actually pretty fucking good." You know what I mean? Like, 7 does mean like something is well above average.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
What 7 is? It's above average.
Yeah. Like 2 points above average.
What's kind of interesting there as well is we've kind of been like brainwashed into that kind of view. So like, the sorry, the 1 out of 10, because like I say, you can't go 0 out of 10 because 0 is like
you didn't get a product.
There isn't
no
zero is like, oh, I put this on and it was a black screen and there was nothing there.
Yeah.
It's impossible to have a 0, like, in my opinion. So it's 1 to 10. Yeah. And obviously, like you're saying, so 5, middle ground. But like, when you look at stuff, like, I also believe there's a tendency now to go too grandiose. So Jay said the other day, the Resident Evil remake, 10 out of 10s across the board. Well, that's impossible too, because nothing is ever perfect.
Agreed.
Like, I can pick fault. I bet I can pick fault in the Resident Evil game within the first 10 minutes, which instantly therefore means it's not a 10 out of 10.
No, because I do completely disagree with you there, because I actually don't think a 10 out of 10 means something has to be perfect. I think a 10 out of 10 means something that it is so transcendent, it becomes like the high cap, the high point of that. So fucking I'm going to say Dark Souls. But
that'd have to be generational, though, Richard. It'd have to be like, you have to take the time, the score at the point of time. Do you know what I mean? So For instance, carry on.
That's kind of the point. I'm sort of, so like Dark Souls, for instance. Yeah, even when Dark Souls first came out, there's no mistaking that there's horrendous bugs in that game. There's horrendous glitches in that game. There's some genuine bullshit in that game. I would still argue quite vehemently that it's a 10 out of 10 game, not because I think that it is perfect, but I think it's such an incredible and unique experience, and it changed the landscape of gaming forever, that I think it sort of deserves it.
But then you're looking at it past the fact of it just being like you have to look at everything as a whole. You're looking at one thing, like you're saying, this game, you just said there, this game has bugs, it has flaws, it has issues. That has to come into your,
that does have to come into it, but I think the rest of the stuff, like that game invented a new fucking genre of video games.
Right,
Do you know what I mean? That doesn't happen very often. So yeah, there was this stuff. However, this other stuff like was so fucking so much bigger. That stuff was basically irrelevant.
But it's not irrelevant. But it's not irrelevant though. It can't be irrelevant. Because
yeah, it kind of is, because again, it's like I'm not just focusing on it in a purely mechanical aspect. Yes, mechanical it could be improved, but something always could be improved. But again,
that's why nothing can be perfect.
Yeah, but that's why I don't think 10 should mean perfect. I think 10 should mean the best example of something you can do at the moment, or something that is so good it sets the benchmark for the next 10 to 20 years.
Okay, but then is it the best? Sorry, Jay, just one thing. Is it the best example with it that it can be if it's got bugs in it? No.
Well, yes, because current technology. So Silent Hill, for instance, one of the best features of the original Silent Hill was genuinely a bug in the game, and that was the fog. And the fog was only there because the PlayStation couldn't load it in. Did that bug actually make the game like that bug enhanced the game? Do you know what I mean? In a weird sort of way. So I don't think there's always going to be, in 5 years' time, you're always going to be, especially in gaming. Gaming's a very tricky one because it's very different to other industries because of how fast the technology moves. So in 3 years after a game is out, you're already going to be able to do a much better version of that game. You know, like 100 sorts of percent.
I stand by. I stand by. I agree with what you say. So, I kind of feel like Jay has got something on the tip of his tongue that he wants to say, so I want to let Jay go.
Right. No, I know what Richie's saying, and that's why I'm saying in a snapshot of time, you can say that that's a 10 because it was genre defining, blah, 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 and no point repeating everything that Richie just said. But you have to take into example exactly what TJ is saying, which is like, yes, it is a 10 out of 10 in innovation, right? It is a 10 out of 10 in innovation, but you do have to, like, if you're going to be an objective reviewer, I feel that you do have to take into example the fact that the bugs are there, so it should be made note. You can still give it a 10, and you can still put a note saying like there are bugs, but I feel that this, and this. You know, that's your review. It's up to you to review however you want. But for me, as much as Dark Souls was transcendent, it's a 9 out of 10 game because unfortunately I do have to believe in the principle. If I say 10, I'm saying there is no fault. There is no fault with this game at all.
In an ideal world, then, would it be better to not have a singular 1 to 10, but have a breakdown of like
highs and lows?
No, like maybe 3 or 4, like gameplay. You pick 4. You know, like some people have like when people review a product and they'll be like
Actions,
price, like durability, blah 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 blah. Should we be reviewing things like games, especially games, because there is so much that goes into a game? Should we be reviewing it rather than on a basic score of 1 to 10? Should we have 1 to 10 but 4 different review points or whatever? So you could say for like gameplay, it's like, you know, there are bugs and stuff, so you'd give it a 9, but for like story and all that, like the story is perfect, so that would be a 10, and then you can get an average overall, which will never be 10. So the average.
I think because like realistically, you can't really give a game a 1 either.
No, I don't think that either.
I think if you've got a number spectrum and you can't use 2 of them, I think that whole criteria of scoring something is stupid and garbage and shouldn't be used.
That's fair enough.
Because what's the point in having a 10 if I can't give it to anything ever? Like there's just no point. Like, what do I give the best of the best? A 9. Well, then what's the point in it being a 1 to 10 system?
9.9.
Yeah, but what's the difference? But I hate the in betweens, because what's the difference between a 9.9 and a 9.8? What's the difference between a 9.9 and a 9? It just gets so petty and semantic. I think if you can't use the extremes of the scales, then I think you just need to bin that scale off and just have it as must play, good, you know, really good, average, not great, shit, broken.
I agree.
Do you know what I mean?
That is probably a better way of doing it. Yeah.
I agree that words are the best descriptor.
Yeah.
Because the problem with TJ's notion, and it's a sound idea, and some magazines use it. The problem is, as soon as you start giving something a number, even if it's 4 out of 5, and it's over 4 sections, it becomes a percentage. So it gets a fucking number, which is basically out of 10 because you put a decimal point in.
Something that's really weird is people are far more inclined to give something a 5 out of 5 than they are a 10 out of 10.
Yes, because it's in their mind, even though it knows difference, but it feels like you're not going so grandiose. But I agree that the way that, I don't know how we'll do it, maybe it is best if we just do words. Not that we'll have a scale of words, but I think from your own reaction of your words, like if you say something shit, I think it's fairly confident in what you feel about it. You know, if you say something's amazing, must watch, then I think that becomes across quite clearly. You know, average is exactly a word. It doesn't put the 5 connotation to it, but average is like, yeah, it's average. You know, don't break your back for it, but give it a watch if it's on.
Have you sorry, go on, Rich.
I was just going to say, and like sort of reviewing something is such a, everyone goes, oh, that review is sort of biased, and you kind of have to be a little bit. Not to the point where, not to the point where you're just like, rad, the game's garbage because you only played 30 seconds and you saw 2 girls kissing it and it offended you. Do you know what I mean? And no, not that sort of bias, but you know, who you are as a person informs the content you like.
Exactly. Your life experience means that you're biased going in because certain things have happened to you leading up to that point when you're going to review it that will generally have a knock-on effect, even if it's subconsciously, will have a knock-on effect in everything you do and everything.
You didn't know this, boys. You didn't know this, but my mom was bit by a fucking zombie when I was born, so I'm a ginger day walker. I'll point that out for you, in case you didn't know.
Marks too.
Right.
I'm not letting it go. Right, I won't let it go. I'm not going to let it go.
He's still pissed that you want to shoot him in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
He is, isn't he? He's really upset.
Once this ends, you're getting a barrage of messages.
Yeah, I get it, man.
Turn your phone off.
He'll turn up at my door, bro.
Do you know right? Okay, so it's a better way. So like with the reviews, like they always have, like say like movie poster, game poster. It's always they give 10 out of 10, 5 out of 10, but they've always got that little snippet, haven't they, of like 5 or 6 words that they use to describe, you know, like you say, must watch. Maybe we just get rid of, like you say, get rid of the number bullshit and just have that. Just have your must watch, amazing, fantastic, and just have that and get rid of you because, like you say, I don't believe in perfection. Other than myself, I
do agree with you. I don't think anything can ever be perfect. But the way, as I say, particularly in terms of games, the way I perceive 10 doesn't necessarily mean that product is perfect. I just mean, to me, it means
it's a perception thing. 100%. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So, just to tell all the listeners, because you've sort of got into a little bit of a ramble about rating, we'll probably be rating our things as must watch.
Words.
This is great because words are better. They're descriptive. It's why we use words.
My words will be the numerical so it will be 9.5 but written out. That's how I'm doing it. Loophole.
Yeah. I do have a number score. I do have a number score as well.
It's called 1.
Series, yeah. -3.
Right, pulling this train back onto its tracks. I've got one more low-scoring review to read because it says about the video game reenactment, which I'm very interested in reading what he says, and it's quite a long one. And then we'll read a couple of 10s, and then we'll get on to our final things because we don't want to be here all night, and we're getting close. Right, so 4 out of 10. This is from Truth.
Sorry, was that 4 out of 10? Sorry, was that
4 out of 10?
Okay.
4 out of 10 by Truth Barian. So he's a barbarian that only tells the truth, it appears. Do we need a video game reenactment? Is his main header. If I will have the balls to be the first to review a 9.3 out of 10 episode with a 4 out of 10. Don't get me wrong. If you look at my other reviews, I am considered a fan of the show until now. After this episode, I must give a low rating because I simply don't have any desire to continue with the series. I already played the game.
Good job it's finished then.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I've watched the last episode and I won't watch any more of this series. You're right. Ridiculous. 1 year later, let's see if your review shows back up. I already played the game. I know what happens. I find the show version of nearly everything to be inferior to the game. Wow. That is an opening statement, kids. That is an opening.
Lad. Hey, at least he's, stacking his chips and betting in.
That's it, right? I've got to be careful here because he's mentioning The Last of Us 2. Without spoilers, what happens to the characters is honestly deserved. Oh dear. He's upset that future episodes, which HBO confirmed, is going to take 2 more years to accomplish. That's what he's saying. I don't remember HBO confirming that. However,
they haven't put a number, have they? They've just said it will definitely be more than 1.
Yes. Hold on. I'm having to pre-read this now
that's cool.
I'm worried about what he might say. After this, I do not like Joel at all. He is a psychopath with daddy issues who wants to manipulate and kill anyone who gets in his way of making Ellie a new daughter for him. Well, at least he understood what was going on.
And well, I mean, to be fair, it's accurate to the source material.
Yeah. So we'll put humanity at risk to do so. I mean, if he's played the games, he knows this. This is the behavior of a freakish character from a Rob Zombie movie, not someone I'm supposed to care about for up to 3 seasons. Well,
careful.
He's played.
That's exactly where I'm confused. Where I'm confused here, because he knew the outcome before. So why is he just having the revelation now?
Yeah.
Right. Hold on. So the next bit. For some reason, I accepted these deeds in the game. Okay, he's covering his arse. Fair enough. Down for it. But the show, it feels evil what Joel does.
Because it's real. Because it's real people.
Yeah, I guess so. But it didn't.
It's that suspension of disbelief. Well, it's the suspension of disbelief we spoke about earlier. Your escapism because you're in a video game. Yeah. You don't see it as being real. But when you see Pedro Pascal doing it, it's more real.
It sounds like motherfucker missed the point in the game and only just got it.
Maybe also he played the game 10 years ago and had forgotten.
Yeah. Well, he was a kid.
And he was a different person. He was a different person.
He just saw it as shooty, bang, bang. Yeah. And now that he's maybe grown up and he's got a kid or something like
that's the thing. Like that's the thing we don't think about. Yeah, because he could have been 14 when this game came out. So the whole story would have been completely lost on him in a sense. He is just playing this as like,
now he's 24 and he's got a fucking, he's got a 4-year-old daughter or something like that. Yeah. It's like,
I would say he probably hasn't got 4. I was going to say he probably doesn't have any children because he can't. Like, if you had a child, you kind of would you would understand it more.
So for some reason, I accepted these deeds in the game, but in the show, it felt it feels evil what Joel does. They added too much ambiguity. So I am left with the facts of what Joel did. Just grab a gun and go mass shooting, even kill everyone else, including a friend. It looks horrible on the screen.
I don't get the ambiguity part. It's literally scene for scene.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, somebody always saw it in the game was shooty, bang, bang.
He hasn't played the game in a long time and he's forgotten a lot of it. I would imagine.
I just missed the point entirely, and it's now just dawned on me that this is horrifying. Oh dear.
They give you no reason to distrust the Fireflies, except that they are amateur and jerks who use flashbang grenades on people.
Well, he doesn't.
May still be 14.
Yeah, he doesn't distrust them. They flat out, straight up said they're going to kill her. Yeah. Like, he doesn't distrust them. It's not a question of not trusting them. It's a question of they've said, yes, we can do it, but she has to die.
If anything, they're trying to do the greater good, aren't they? Their end goal is the end of like the
resetting the world.
Exactly. It's the start of a new dawn for mankind in a sense, isn't it? Because if we can find a cure, we can take back what's rightfully ours.
Exactly.
So they're the good guys, essentially.
Yeah.
But that's the point.
Yeah.
It's the point I've made. It's the point I've made a million times. Like in the Last of Us universe, you're only a good guy in your own story. Everybody else is you're an arsehole. Yeah.
I definitely am putting this down to this. He was a kid when he played this, and he doesn't remember the game at all, or brief moments of it.
Crazy. So, however, the lengths he goes to save his adopted daughter are insane, and what he doesn't
have a child.
what he does until the end is all to serve his dark goals of getting closer to Ellie.
He's making it. I was going to say he's making it sound out like Joel and David are best buds, and they've got like a grooming ring going on. Like
he
what
clearly
the fuck?
doesn't have any experience with
children.
Love for any child ever. Like, he's got a brother or
weird. This is the kind of person that I imagine. This is the kind of person that I imagine that when what happened to Sarah happens, he laughed and thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Like, so, you know,
I get it. This twist ending is in the game, and it's interesting. It's interesting at least. So I guess Too Long Didn't Read. I thought this ending was inferior to the games, and now here we go. And now I know, besides one gay relationship, the show and the game will be the same. So why watch worse cutscenes? Live action's worse cutscenes than video games?
Okay, all right, lads.
You need to just open the door. Just go into the real world a little bit.
Yeah.
Touch some grass.
Touch grass. Yeah.
Maybe
you got it.
Maybe smoke some grass. Maybe smoke some grass.
Just chill out, man.
Just get some friends.
Yeah, I think you're taking life a little too seriously. Like, get your dick sucked, smoke a joint, and you'll be all right, son.
Yeah, exactly. So then he goes on to also, while I'm on a rant, the zombies in the show.
Not zombies.
Exactly. I'm sick of that. He goes to the show have to be the most boring and weak ever. If a pregnant woman can stab a zombie with a kitchen knife, is everyone seeing this as a fucking kitchen knife?
Yeah, ain't it? Like, man,
she literally gives the flick knife. It says, "Give this to Ellie."
Yeah, I swear to God, I'm starting to feel like my kitchen is like vastly underprepared in terms of equipment, man. Like, holy shit, where's my zombie shanking blades, man?
Next time I go to like the kitchen appliance thing, I'll be looking around going, "Hold on, we need one of them flick knives for the kitchen."
You know what?
I'm going Home Depot tomorrow, man. All of
these motherfuckers have got a David-sized fucking human chopping block in their fucking house, haven't they? With like meat cleavers just hanging around, and it's like,
fuck, you know. Most of the kills in the show are because somebody needed to die from being bitten. There wasn't one memorable gore scene in the show. It's not a.
Oh yeah.
Did he? Hang on. Did he miss the whole part where Kansas City Revolution's going and they're dragging bodies through the streets with fucking 40 arrows sticking out of them, and they're just absolutely mutilating fucking people for shits and giggles, like because they're an oppressed people that have rose up. Like, was that not a bit graphic for you, dude?
I think Truth Bearing was spending too much time on Pornhub around that episode. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, so just to finish up what he says, I would have loved it if they could have given us something else to think about, like what if Ellie dies and the show changes to something else?
Oh, cool.
Well, can you imagine?
So what's season 2? Ellie? Season 2, Joel jumps off a bridge and dies. The end. Joel kills himself. End of.
Like, I get where he's coming from there. Like, I'm currently sat here imagining what if we lived in a world where that prick's parents used contraception, you know, so...
If only he'd pulled out.
Man, talk about somebody that should have been swallowed.
I know, Jesus Christ.
Give his mum a metal coat hanger and go to town.
What if Ellie lives and the vaccine might work? So, hold on. What if Ellie lives and the vaccine might work? Those two things can't exist.
And so in comes Little House on the Prairie. That's what the season turns into.
And it was all a dream.
Oh, who said that? Someone said that, didn't they? Yeah, that was last week. Fucking hell. This is a fucking dream, I tell you. Listen to this.
No, this is a nightmare.
Yes.
What if final one? What if Joel just punches the doctor out? It stands. This ending just shows that Joel, he will. Hold on. Wait a minute. I can't read any more of that. He ends with 4 out of 10.
Oh,
should have put spoiler warnings.
Yeah.
Okay, you maybe we'll come back to that once we've closed shop here, because I'm interested, because I've actually got something I want to run past you. But I need to do it after. It's like a fan theory.
Okay.
Right. Do you want to find? I want to refresh us a little bit with give us a. I'll take a 10 out of 10.
Please do. Some coherence, please. But if it's someone that says that the first 10 minutes is amazing, then I fucking hate them.
Yeah, then I'm leaving. I'm closing the stream and I'm going to bed. I'm playing Dead Cells.
Right, hold on. Here we go.
He's had to change the one
Let's do
because he's
some
realised
proofreading
that
here,
the
Jay.
first one, yeah, actually
gotta be
did,
sure.
and I was being deadly serious.
9 out of 10. We don't trade lives. This was a satisfying end to a brilliant entry in into the television world. The cinematic experience was the same feeling I had when I watched a friend play the video game in 2013. I remember saying, I care more about the storyline than playing the game, which is fair, because I probably cared more about the storyline than I did about playing the game.
There's an argument that mechanically it's nothing special.
No, yeah.
It's just in terms of narrative.
You want to, I felt playing the game, like especially the second time, you want to get to those pivotal moments.
Yeah.
You're just what you're doing is just a point A to point B to get to like
I
want the next cutscene. Yeah, I want to get to the next cutscene. I want to get to the next bit of dialogue. You know,
that's it. Final Fantasy VII was that for me. Right now, here's where you pair are going to be a little bit upset.
Oh, for fuck's sake! He had to, didn't he?
Yeah, I did.
Hang on. Where's the
sensational opening made the conclusion even heavier. Joel's enduring drive to find anything to keep going really shows the measures he'll take to ensure that it's really such a mental conflict. But he made a human decision. We don't trade lives, for better, for worse. Selfish, maybe.
He's gone to sleep.
They only said IMDB believable, right? Only said sensational opening to said that conclusion made it conclusion heavier, but whatever. Selfish, maybe. Right, maybe. I mean, what are the rules now anyway? Great season. The formula of the show has changed. Maybe a major pivot to some unknown built on a lie. You know this will end up all coming back. It always does. So I thought that was, I mean, apart from the sensational opening, which I just don't agree with. Although I do agree that it was trying to make the conclusion heavier when she said, like, I knew her mother and yada, yada, yada. So I get that. Right. Where have I got another good one? From a non-gamer, episode 9. I do like a non-gamer one. So if you're looking for a feel-good story with a light-hearted, happy ending, this is not.
I was going to say, don't watch this.
Yeah, this I thought. I'll tell you what. Yeah, watch this, and then while you're at it, why don't you watch Made in Abyss next?
Yeah, this is not the series nor the episode for you.
Oh, good.
From the beginning of the episode, we are told that the reason Ellie is immune to the cordyceps is because her mother got infected when she was in labor, and Marlene was the one who found her and her mother. As viewers, we have not still recovered from the last episode, neither has Ellie. So I suppose it was quite devastating to see that if you didn't have any attachments that we did, because you are coming from like Ellie being.
I suppose, that's something that never really factored into mine because we all mentioned that Ellie seemed in her own head. Yeah, she's fucking got every right to be. She just went through nearly being eaten and raped. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Well, that's what we did, because as we said, like we did bring it up, didn't we? That like she had the world on her shoulders because everything that had happened to her up to that point, like it was weighing down heavy on her, and then obviously put on top of that the fact that they're at the final leg, they're almost at the end goal.
Yeah, the end's literally there.
Then it becomes this thing of like she is seen by others as the savior. And it's like that must be quite daunting to put on the shoulders of anyone, let alone a child.
Sorry, carry on.
So Joel's brooding persona was always contrasted by Ellie's joyful self, but what she went through has already scarred her. She is not the same person. But at least everything these two have been through was not for nothing. They are finally reaching the hospital in Utah that will work on the cure. But upon reaching the hospital, Joel is incapacitated, knocked out. It's just a recap of the episode now, in case anyone was wondering. When he wakes up, Marlene is there and tells him that Ellie was born with the cordyceps in her brain and that they need to remove it to find the cure. Joel sees her not only as his daughter by now, but as a second chance at life, as he wasn't able to save his own daughter. So he is not going to let the Fireflies kill Ellie under any circumstance. While it is true that the entire first season has been fast-paced and suspenseful with many adversaries, not even the clickers seem as evil as the Fireflies who had a child cross the country to be sacrificed in the hopes of maybe finding a cure. Well,
I don't class that as being evil.
Well,
yeah.
It's what would you do to save humanity?
Bigger picture.
Yeah.
You know,
that is someone who is reading into
Adams.
Joel is the hero of this story.
Yes.
Yeah, buying into that narrative, aren't they?
Yeah. Which, look, you'd have to be foolish to think that like what he's not doing is not, of course, being completely fucking selfish.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, also, I don't agree with maybe finding the cure again. Like, it's hinted at heavily that like this
it is known.
Yeah, it's hinted at in the game. It's a possibility. This is like it's a no. We are
it's fact.
We are we've got this.
We're doing the ting with the ting.
Yeah.
In all 9 episodes, you have in all 9 episodes you have rooted for Joel to save Ellie as hard as in this instance. I did want him to save her, obviously.
Mixed. I did, but in much the same way. Yeah, like there's a very distinct button. I can actually liken this to. Have you seen? You've both seen the film Joker?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, like my single favourite scene in that is the moment where he comes out of the train.
Yep.
You know, once he's led the police on that fucking wild goose chase when he's going to the talk show. And that scene where he comes out of the train and all he's doing is he's just smoking a fag and his entire body language and posture has changed because he's become who he has always meant to be. And you know, it's that sort of feeling where it's like, on the one hand, I'm sort of elated that, you know, the Joker is who he's meant to be and that Joel is about to save his daughter. But then on the other point of view, I'm genuinely horrified that who he's meant to be is the Joker. And yes, Joel is saving his daughter, but he's committing like abject murder to do it.
Genocide to a certain
extent. Yeah.
Anyway, so where we got to? Yes. The stakes have never been higher, and we know he can go into beast mode to protect the ones he loves, as Rich pointed out in the last episode.
Yeah.
This is not a devil whom you wish to be on his path. The conclusion to this episode in the season is nothing short of amazing. I have said before that casting Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey was a magnificent decision by the producers of the series. They are so captivating that you could have them walking through a desolate place and you still enjoy it. Okay, I don't really get that. I mean, that's neither there nor here nor there. Good actors will be able to carry a scene with the two of them, obviously. So, yeah. Anyway, but yes, I generally, that's a non-gamer review, so it seems that they do enjoy that opening.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I feel like what he's pointing out there is that, like, if they had have recast it wrong. Like if they had have got someone that was even a small amount less than what Pedro and Bella have given, it would be a very different series and would not. Sorry, I was just saying. I was just going to say, and those high points wouldn't have hit so hard, and those low points wouldn't have like beaten you, down as well with it. So I kind of get what they're saying with that point.
Yeah, and also more as opposed to individual talent, the fact that A, both of them, yes, are phenomenally talented actors, and B, the fact that they have that chemistry, because just because you're an incredible actor doesn't mean you're always going to have that incredibly realistic sort of on-screen chemistry, does it?
One thing I did wonder was, like, I don't remember them ever having. Well, no, I'm almost 100% certain they never had any linkage in Game of Thrones. But I'm just wondering if they ever had any like connectivity while like filming. If they knew each other, if there was any kind of connection they had with each other, because it did just feel that they were. So
to be fair though, even if they weren't acting together, that shared experience would be incredibly bonding. And if that actually would have been hard to film, man. Hard to film,
But I'm just wondering if like when they would have came in seasons wise, I think she's later, he's earlier. Like, I'm just trying to think when Oberyn and I can't remember her character.
I think they would have been around about the same point, but she was in the north and he was in Dawn.
I just remember her more like. I just remember her more like later on when the Jon Snow takes back over Winterfell and everything, and they're getting together, the leaders, and she's
Sansa
obviously
was
the
up
leader.
there with Littlefinger
and obviously Oberyn meets his demise early when because at that point Sansa's with. Well,
Fox with the Mountain, doesn't he?
because obviously Oberyn takes the fight for little man Tyrion.
Yeah.
A brilliant best thing.
Yeah.
Elia, her name was Elia Martell. You raped and murdered her. Oh, it's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
It's freaking really. It's a really, really good scene.
Yeah,
even right at the end when he goes. Doesn't he? What does the Mountain say? He says the name, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he goes, "I raped and murdered."
Yeah. Mate, it's probably the most brutal thing I've ever fucking seen in a TV show, and I'm here all day for it. It's great. It's fucking brilliant.
That was another scene, much like the Red Wedding, that I didn't watch the TV for. I watched the faces of the people I was in the room for because I knew what was coming. So it was just like, in about 30 seconds' time, you are about to have a very, very bad time of film.
Especially because they shot that scene so well. Like, if you didn't know, then you're like, man, I think this little dude has fucking got this.
He's gonna do this.
Problem is,
man as well.
The problem is being a showman. Fucks you up, man.
Yeah,
just get the job done. Get the job done.
Indiana Jones showed us years ago.
Yeah, it just bang shoots him.
Yeah.
It's just like, good for you.
Those 25 years of martial art training are really good.
Dodge a bullet, bitch.
Isn't it in Batman as well? Batman, Michael Keaton, Batman.
He just punches him.
He kicks him.
That's it. Kicks him. Yeah.
Moves off.
Yeah, because the bloke comes out with a sunglass and everything. It's like, wow! It does like that, just like wallop.
In the nuts, punches him, fucking just does one like. Yeah,
I love it. Don't be a showman, kids. Just remember.
Just get the job done, and then
showboat afterwards. I was going to say,
teabag afterwards.
Dance on his corpse. Yeah, exactly. Dance on his fucking corpse once it's done.
Exactly. Teabag away. Did you like them nuts?
Yeah. For real, man.
Right, we should probably get to the overall series at some point. So, right, let's just go back then. So, we're probably best breaking this down quickly into each episode as much as you can remember. I did try and go back and watch all the entire season. I got to episode 3. So,
you've done well.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, like now that we've got an overview, I've just really been looking at it more as a sort of thing as a whole. Did it manage to regardless of its individual parts, did it manage to cover like thematically what I think the point of the Last of Us actually is?
First off, we're going to do it that way then. Let's talk about it as an adaptation, as that's generally what the theme is. What did you think of it as probably the first TV adaptation of a video game for me to probably hit a home run, to be honest?
Mm-hmm.
I think it changed the right amount. I know we've mentioned this in other podcasts, but I think it changed the right amount of stuff to make an interesting side tales. And I think it kept the core of the game, which is always a worry in adaptations. Resident Evil takes the core of the game and you got the entire story. You didn't miss a beat. Like, you might have missed sections, but you didn't really feel like you missed a beat, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I feel sorry.
Yeah, carry on. No, carry on, mate.
I was going to say, like, I feel with some adaptations, it's like they can't separate what makes a game and what makes a TV show or a film, and they miss, like, they just try and mash it together and this is what we've got. Whereas I felt this just hit it on the head. They knew, like, the points, and maybe it's the perfect game to make into a series because, like you say, like the game parts of the game, we said it earlier in this episode, they kind of felt like at some points when you look back at it, they got in the way because the story was the main driving thing that made us push forward. Like, and the shooting the infected and doing all the other bits and pieces was just like, okay, this is what we're waiting for, the next transition into the next cutscene, the next bit of dialogue. So maybe in that respect, it was always going to be the perfect game because the story is the main part. Even in the game, the story overtakes the action, the story, like always sits on a higher level than anything else within the game. And so maybe like it was always going to be this perfect adaptation because it's perfect for television, or perfect, or it wouldn't be film. It has to be a TV series because of the length. But the one thing I do think that they've done amazingly well was those little bits that we spoke about that aren't in the game. Fuck off the start of this episode. I'm not even going back to that. But like the whole episode 3 was just marvelous and took the series in a different direction that we weren't expecting, and I feel that was fantastic. And that wouldn't have worked in the game. So yeah, I feel as an adaptation,
taking advantage of the medium.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Taking advantage of, like,
and that's what
we're doing TV medium now.
But that's what I think that the other things don't do. Is like they try to sometimes be too clever and everything, whereas these guys have just like, we know the selling point of this is what it is, and we can cherry pick a few extra little bits to like grow a story, grow a character, grow a narrative around something. Whereas others just try and they try and make the action to, like Resident Evil, it's all like, oh, we need to make it as gory, and we need to do this, and the action is all the pivotal point of it, and you take away from a lot of other things by doing that. And this, like, the action has always been secondary. And that's what's really been good about it. People are at the forefront of the story in the game, and they're at the forefront of the story in the series.
Yeah. Well, like I said before, and I'll say again before I let Rich go on, it is called The Last of Us because it's talking about the people that are remaining, not the thing that killed them and made them the people that are remaining. So for me, it's taking the right, as you say, it's taking the right thing from the game. Now, Rich will tell you, as Rich has already said, it was an incredibly rote game.
Yeah.
So your bones were already there. Do you know what I mean? So, I totally see how they've made this a great adaptation. Rich, what's your feelings on it, mate?
It's interesting because obviously video game adaptations are quite reviled because they're usually objectively shit.
Yeah.
And I'd argue that the only really sort of contender for the best I've thrown up until this point has been Castlevania for Netflix.
Yeah.
And that's really different because A, it's fucking animated, and B, Castlevania's got lore but not a story. If that makes sense. So it's got a lot of room to just fuck around and do its own thing and still feel very true because it feels like it's set in the universe.
The good thing for anime is you can do lots of gory fighting.
And make it, and in terms of setting and style, what would be very expensive to do is, in live action is, a lot cheaper to sort of animate, isn't it? You can do much crazier environments and do much crazier things and stuff.
We're bound by the laws of science for a start.
Exactly. Adaptations in general, though, I find they tend to fail for one of two reasons, and either one is deviating too much from the source material and doing something totally different, like anything with the words Resident Evil attached to it.
Yeah.
Just follow the games, please.
Do the game there.
Or B, will almost adhere too much to it. So Watchmen is always the example that comes to my mind for that in terms of the film, because like, was it a serviceable enough film? Yeah. Did it completely miss the point of the source material because it completely tried to stay 100% true to the source material? Yes, it totally did, Whereas I think this had a wonderful balance between it had enough confidence to know that the things it was adding were sort of thematically similar to the point that the original narrative was trying to tell. So I feel that they handled all the game stuff really well, and then all the stuff that they added in didn't feel like it was like you're trying to tell a different story in this framework. It feels like the story you're telling fits this framework. Do you know what I mean? I honestly think we genuinely have the first truly great. There are some issues. I'm not saying, as we spoke earlier, I don't think anything's ever perfect. This certainly wasn't. I can list quite a laundry list of things issues I had with it. I could spend 7 minutes just railing on the first 7 minutes of the last episode.
I think we did 15 minutes earlier.
Yeah. So, but as a whole, yeah, I think they did a phenomenal job, and I think because like Jay said, there's the core of a great story is already there. Too many stories with video games will only work because of you actively moving the narrative forward. I think you'd have to really pick. Like, I can see things like Metal Gear and Red Dead and stuff like that being contenders. You know,
So,
God of War.
like I say, I think just harkening back to what we were saying about Resident Evil, the thing that I had an issue with Resident Evil is they just ignored the story completely, and what they thought that people wanted in Resident Evil is like, well, they want horror, they want like blood and guts and gore. So not really. Like Resident Evil was good because of the tension that was built.
Yeah.
When did the first film come out? Like in terms of the games, because I wonder how many games were out at that point.
I think they must have at least been on Resident Evil 5, but I will check.
Yeah.
I will check.
I think 4 was out.
When the very first film come out with Mila Jovovich, they were already on 4. Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
2002.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were on 4 because I remember the corridor scene with the lasers in the first film. That's pretty much from 4, isn't it?
Yes, I do remember that.
See, I've never played 4, so
Evil.
Yeah.
Hang on, 2002. I've got to try and remember.
2002.
That's when the film come out, yeah?
That's when the film came out. Hold on, let me tell you. What would you tell me?
I thought the first game was
Resident Evil 4 didn't actually come out until 2005.
So we're talking we're talking 3.
So 3 years later.
Are we talking the third? Was the third game out at that point?
It would be Resident Evil Code Veronica that would have been out by that point.
Right.
Code Veronica came out in 2000.
Right. Okay. No, I was just wondering. The only reason I asked it out, is because I wondered how much story they had from, like, if you'd gone like there was only the first 2 games, or if you'd gone like up to 4 was out. I wondered how much source material they actually had to play with, and then maybe they were just like, well, yeah, we want to make it we don't want to just follow the games. We want to make it a standalone because there's too much story out already. Like, if there's one game, it's like, well, we can follow that one game. But if there's like 5 or 6 games out, perhaps it's like, well, that's too much material for a film.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't have known that they're going to make 7 films. So it's like, is it better for us to tell a completely new story which encompasses parts of what's all so it is a Resident Evil story in a Resident Evil universe, but it's not the Resident Evil story from the games. And that way we can maybe get a franchise that stands by
on
itself
its own legs,
but just with the name.
I mean, he got 7 million films out of it or something, didn't
he? Yeah. But as a whole, I think all 3 of us are on the same kind of boat that they I feel this is the first one to lay the blueprint down of how you actually do adapt, because I think I've mentioned it before. My big worry with transitioning video games into TV is video games are probably the only medium that you have to actively move the narrative forward in. And a lot of me worries whether that transitions very well to a passive medium where you just sit and observe and have nothing to do with it. But no, they achieved it.
I feel what this has done is it's put a spotlight on, and hopefully now that they'll look at it and go, what makes a good adaptation? The story has to be the most pivotal part of the game, as opposed to stuff like, for instance, like the Dark Pictures anthology and stuff. They would make great films or great seasons because essentially that's what they are. You moving around and making decisions is what turns it into a game, but ultimately it's a film or a series. I'm
thinking about Metal Gear Solid 4, Rich. That was basically a film.
For real.
So if you've got a strong story where the story outweighs the gameplay, in essence, you can make a strong adaptation.
I think so.
And there are games out there. But the worry is now that this is done so well, so it's like, well, okay, let's fucking make everything into a game. Even with like Uncharted, let's just talk about the Naughty Dog for a second. Like, there is the storyline within the game is still strong because you've got strong characters, and yes, it's an action shooting game, but it still has that Indiana Jones type feels, that that adventurer type feel that fits in for a 2-hour movie. So it kind of like I felt that story is right to make a film out of. Whether or not, and then it's how like who you pick to act and the actual story itself that you pick. But there are some,
Rich seething about with the
I know,
quite steering.
But
wall bag.
I do feel that, like I say, it all depends now, and I can see us getting a flood of stuff now because everyone's going to be like, we can't come up with any fucking original ideas in Hollywood because we're idiots. So where's the next? Last of Us done really well. Let's make, and I know you said like they've got BioShock. I don't know the story behind BioShock, so I don't know if
just
that would
to
make it good.
Just to interject, then let's talk about what we do know: Fallout, God of War, BioShock.
Yeah,
those were the rights. Films. Don't forget that they're making a Borderlands film.
Yeah,
and I would have thought it would have been out by now because it got announced ages ago. Where Jamie Lee Curtis is playing Tannis. You've got the soldier. I can't remember his name, but he's being played by Roland. He's being played by comedian. Help me in everything with The Rock.
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
So they've got they should have done a lot of filming on that. I'm surprised that film has come out, unless it's so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
Or how much post-production will it need with CGI and everything else like that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mate, Avatar took 10 years. They feel like they've done their filming about 5-6 years ago, and the rest of it is all the fucking CGI bullshit. I don't know. Like Borderlands, so I don't really know.
Well, Borderlands it's a looter shooter. It'd be like making Diablo.
I don't. What I mean is, I don't know like what it would be for sets and stuff. How intensive it would be for needing CGI. Like
pretty heavy.
I'd assume it's got to be pretty heavy. I mean, it's mainly set in a desert.
Right. Okay.
So, but it's stylized. So I don't know how they're going to do that.
You will 100%.
Eli Roth and Tim Miller though.
No way.
Eli Roth, what the Hostel geezer?
Hostel, yeah.
And Tim Miller is the guy who did Deadpool.
He's the bear Jew as well, isn't he? Inglourious Bastards,
Bastards, correct.
Yeah, you will 100% see an onslaught of adaptations because we've already seen this trend before with comic book movies. Because everyone kind of forgets that with the onslaught of the MCU, everyone kind of forgets the real rough ride it took to get comic books up to a good standard on film. It took multiple attempts. There was like Batman from the 60s. There was obviously you had the 1989 Batmans, which were decent and shit like that. But then you also had the travesties of things like
Ben Affleck, Daredevil.
Ben Affleck, Daredevil. You had there was
Ryan
a
Reynolds.
really shit old Captain America from the 1980s.
Oh yeah,
that was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, I remember that.
There was the old fucking Incredible Hulk TV movies. So they went through a really, really rough period before it was really Iron Man, wasn't it? Like you had some breakthrough success with sort of the Batmans and the Spider-Man and the Iron Man. Blade was sort of
Blade's different though, isn't it? Blade's I think Blade's different because Blade's like. It's that like it's not of such a high profile like comic book to the uninformed and like the actor you pick for it as well.
But the difference between Blade and Iron Man is you're completely right. Blade isn't a particularly giant one in the popular the Vox Populi, as you will, but neither was Iron Man until his film.
No, but I kind of feel like Blade like touches on like vampires and stuff like that. Are always like there's always that way. Like they always seem to have a wave of these films, like your Underworld and everything, and they always have that cult following. Iron Man's like. It's different. It's a rich Ponzi bloke, isn't it? Who's like makes a suit and everything. But whereas I just think Blade feels like a void that of like a genre, that already has an established, stable like group of people that love those films. Like who will guarantee will watch those films because it's in
a built-in
there.
audience.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
a lot of people like Rocketeer, TJ. A lot of people like Rocketeer.
Yeah.
I like Rocketeer.
Rocketeer's bad boy, man.
All right, calm down.
Iron Man changed the landscape of everything, and it turned Iron Man from, only diehard comic book fans knew who Iron Man was as a character. Most normies didn't have a fucking clue. And now it's not just that every time Dick and Harry knows who Iron Man is because of the films. Now he's front and centre. He's the main part of every major Avengers storyline for the last 18 years,
Yeah.
So you definitely, the floodgates are open, and it's I've been saying to Jade for years, this will happen with anime eventually at some point as well. They keep having a go. They Battle Angel Alita was quite a high profile one with James Cameron's involvement and stuff like that. You had a big push with Cowboy Bebop coming to Netflix. Which was I liken that to the early 90s comic book films. That's where that's at. It's a step in the right direction, but it's not quite there yet.
Well, I mean, and you look even earlier than those, like Ghost in the Shell, didn't it? They tried bringing that and put a lot.
I like that adaptation, by the way.
I really like that adaptation. Put big money behind it. Scarlett Johansson, massive actress. Obviously, unfortunately, got a fuck.
You're gonna say massive something else, then?
Massive backlash for reasons we won't go into. But I think. Like you said, they just need to get that recipe right, the right series, the right story, the right people, and then, you say, that's the green lights everything else, doesn't it?
And it's great then because once you've got the ball rolling with the established safe things, you can then start doing the mad things. So, again, in terms of comic books, it was all very safe and friendly, and it was all, the big budget heroes and the guys in spandex fighting the super villains. And now we're at the point where you have things like
Guardians.
Sandman.
Yeah,
Sandman was on TV.
You're going that way.
You had these really fucking sort of out there. You've had Jay's heard me bang on about this. There's a show called Legion, which is you don't actually know it's a superhero show unless somebody fucking told you. It's basically an X-Men show, and it's fucking phenomenal, but it's all about a geezer who's mental, and it's is he mental, is he not mental, you don't really know. Really trippy, it's really out there. So once you've done the safe stuff, once you've done the safe kind of the games you expect that will transition well into TV, we spoke about your God of War and stuff.
God of War's probably going to transition pretty well, I would say.
Very well. And then 10, 15 years time, you'll start maybe seeing, I don't know, a fucking Dark Souls one that's awesome. You know what I mean?
Dark Souls is making anime adaptation.
Yeah, you need to get that established first, though. You need to get, like you said, the blueprint established on how to transition from one medium to another.
Yeah.
And then do the safe things, and then you can start fucking with it and pushing the boundary a bit.
So coming back, because we went a little bit of a thread on adaptation for a second there, but we'll keep that for more conversation in the future, because obviously we will be doing more adaptations that we can go deeper and deeper into. So the other side, which is away from the adaptation side, how did you find it as a television show? Try and take away your feelings as a gamer, I suppose. A little bit.
That's hard, because
I know it is.
As I said, Go on, Rich. You go first.
I was going to say, in terms of content, I can't tell you, because I have, in terms of narrative and how it told the story, I'm not the person to ask on that, because I am too biased. I have too close ties. I have too much reverence for the source material. I can talk to you mechanically about it as a TV show. So in terms of, the cinematography was extraordinary. The music was fucking sensational, even down to the opening. I thought the opening was wonderful. Thematic, kept, really set the scene. It's one of the few openings I've never skipped. The acting universally across the board. So I think in terms of production and how it was made, I don't think anyone can argue to the contrary that it was pretty top tier. It's up there with the very best that you actually find on TV. Now, how you feel about what was presented on it, that is clearly down to yourself. Well,
obviously we've read some random reviews on stuff like that. Sorry, TJ, I will let you.
That's cool. No, go on, go. You shoot.
So what I was going to say was, my feelings as a TV show. I mean, from the people that I know that haven't played the game, I know some of you know yourself, your mum, Rich.
Yeah.
Their response has been across the board. They can't wait for the next season. Which, you know, the last time that I saw people do that without knowing the source material was Game of Thrones, and we got, you know, 6.5 glorious seasons, and then unfortunately,
yeah, real talk, facts.
So that's just my out and out on it. TJ, give us your in-depth.
No, I can only really like play off of like Rich's sentiment there. It's so difficult because we have such a love for that source material. We spoke about it in like previous episodes when we people put in their reviews in and stuff. Like, we hold this near and dear to our hearts, so it's something special to us.
It's an emotional story that when you played as a game and you were feeling as the role of Joel, it's hard to make even that separation now. Because
I can speak to all three of us. That is a story that genuinely affected all three of us.
100%. For different reasons and the same reasons.
And I personally, I'm a firm believer that stories are probably the most powerful thing in the world. And once something's affected and touched you, it's with you for life. So I mentioned before the end of the game with Joel running through the hospital carrying Ellie. And I do think it's a bit worse in the game because he makes a point of he's always looking at his broken watch, you know, and it's just like, oh, God.
And when you find out, when you remember like the origins of the watch.
That will stick with me until the day I die, you know. So I can't be objective about how the show, because they did it and they did it well for me anyway.
It's like I said to you guys, like, this game has and will always be, it's like in my top 3 of all games. It's potentially my number 1. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's in my top 3, that's for sure. But I still haven't finished, 10 years later, I still haven't finished the second game. And like I said to you, like, you guys kind of like mocked it a little bit when we very first started this in the very first episode.
We did.
But I did genuinely said, like, the problem is, it's like, I have such a reverence for that first game that there is that worry there that
especially being the second game, it's had controversy.
It was like,
it's not like you're going in without any worry.
And like, it was like, do I want to potentially taint something that I hold so near and dear? And in the end, to be honest, where I am in the game so far, I've texted you at different points when I've got to different points. This game has probably like sent me down spirals. The second one has sent me down spirals that like bring back
you couldn't
memories
imagine.
from and it's like, and my wife's literally looking at me like it's a video game, and I'm like, you just don't understand, love.
Yeah,
like,
you don't get it, man.
You don't get it. And obviously, she's never been a gamer and stuff, and she's not like her thing of great is like One Tree Hill and 90210. So her opinion points.
Grey's Anatomy.
She loves Grey's Anatomy, and I'm like, fucking bullshit. Anyway, like, I can only see enough emergency tracheotomies done with a fucking Coca-Cola bottle and a biro or some shit, to actually know that this isn't original fucking storytelling. But no, like, I just, the games and the story just hold such a strong place in all our hearts that we can't give an abject opinion. It's always going to be tainted. It's always going to be biased, and I'm just happy that it's turned out the way it has turned out. Yeah,
I'm glad you were wrong, by the way.
Yeah. I'm 100% glad I'm wrong. Like, I always wanted to be wrong from when I said it. I just felt the pacing, and I got it wrong. The pacing at the end, they managed to do that in fucking 35 minutes or whatever it was, which is phenomenal. When you actually think about how much is there.
And you got a lot of the killing. A lot of the killing.
That
was. But the one thing I will say that struck me with this that I can give an abject opinion on, and we all can, is the stuff that wasn't in the game, the stuff that is completely fresh content. So episode 3. Amazing. Like I say, in my top 2, I'm still going to pick as my favorite episode 8, just because David, like
what they did with David.
It's my favorite part in the game.
Would probably be my episode. It was just such a good.
It's my favorite part. It's my favorite part in the game because him as a character, David as a character, was so phenomenal, and just that everything and the way they did that was brilliant. But obviously, we're not talking about that because we know about that. We're talking about stuff. So, like episode 3. Second best episode, like, to take a character that you see for 10 minutes in the game who, like, I mean, Nick Offerman got his character down to a T to what he is in the game and made that last for a 50-minute episode. and the guy who played Frank, sorry, I don't know who it was, like phenomenal, and their chemistry was great. You know, you've got this kooky prepper, like hermit, and he's met this outgoing, lovable, like character.
Someone that sees the beauty, someone that is afraid of life, and someone to meet somebody that sees the beauty in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just such a well done thing. And probably my like another thing that I want to think, probably for me the single best part of the series goes back to episode 2. The Joel gun scene at the in the hospital is phenomenal for its cinematography in it. But just the one thing that resonates with me so strongly, because it's probably the most hard-hitting part of the whole series, is when you meet the doctor in India and she turns around, she finds patient 0, and then it's the single strongest line in the whole game, in the whole film, in the whole series, because
you'll get there.
Yeah, it just comic book, anime,
it just
music.
We'll
go through all the genres.
In about 5 words, it just shows. It hits
real.
home how bad this shit is. When she's like,
serious.
"What do? Bombs, drop them everywhere."
Yeah,
it's like that's when it hits you home, and you're like, "Shit."
I would have actually, weirdly enough, I could have stood a bit more of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, weirdly enough,
I enjoyed the foreboding on the first episode with the scientist.
Yeah, because the first 2 episodes,
they did that, didn't they? The first 10 minutes.
The scientist,
and that was so well done.
Had that, and I honestly could have stood for a few more of those.
Yeah,
I thought they were really cool.
A bit more
they really added
society.
to the universe. Like they added to the universe in a way that didn't feel as offensive as, say, the addition in the final episode felt. You know, because that felt like it was trying to explain something that didn't need explaining, whereas that was explaining something that, you know, was kind of cool to see.
It was an interesting angle, wasn't it? It was like, okay, how did the world sort of deal with it in the game? If I remember correctly, don't you see newspapers coming down?
There's newspapers floating around here and there.
So it was interesting to see, like you say, the weight, the levity, the sheer panic of that person to sort of go, bombs.
Yeah,
you need to kill
everyone.
Majority of the population, but like everyone if possible, because this is fucking real. And like I say, I remember,
it gets a chance to spread,
because I watched it today. I remember in the first episode, there's a moment where hold on, let me. He's a famous actor. Can't think of his fucking name in the first episode, and he does it. And he starts talking about fungi. Everyone's laughing.
Oh, it's John Hannah.
John Hannah.
They take the piss out of him, don't they?
Yeah.
They're just like this idiot who doesn't know what he's talking about.
And then he hits them with what if the Earth went up a couple of temperatures?
Yeah.
What if that forced the change? And everyone goes silent.
Yeah. It's great, isn't it? It's awesome, yeah. I honestly, you know, one of those 2-minute interlude at the start of every episode showing a bit of, you know, society going to shit would have been kind of cool.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree. That would have been really cool to watch. Almost each nation deal with the realization that we're not solving this.
Yeah.
We can't solve. This doctor said it ages ago. He goes, if that happens, there's no cure. There's no way out. It's done. And like I say, so to watch each nation fall, you know, and if you want, put the last episode 9, the great nation of the USA, and watch what level they went to, what the president went to, and give me that, you know, side tale, and fuck off the fact that like some woman got bit while in labor to give birth to a child.
Well, I think
I don't care
we've all made our feelings on that section abundantly clear, haven't we?
I feel what we're getting to though here is that, like I say, those things that we can have a non-biased opinion on because they're new. For the most part, they were done so spectacularly well that
if they were in the game, you would have gone.
They enhanced the source material.
Exactly.
They didn't distract from. They enhanced.
And
Exactly.
you know, yeah, as a whole, like I say, if I ever watch it again, I fast forward 10 minutes of the last episode, and you know, it's amazing.
It's a shame because it's nice to see.
There
Actually,
is, but there,
Johnson.
and if I'm going to play devil's advocate here, there is one scene that I do, and we've said this before, that I feel that they did a misservice not having it in was the sewer.
Yeah, agreed.
So there's that. If I want to pick, if I really want to nitpick at it, because I feel that was a pivotal moment that's so strong in the game, because and probably would have made better.
Yeah.
Would have been a better story told out on television than even it is in the game, because you would have got how Pedro would deal with this situation, and if you did the flip side of Ellie with Henry, like you would have got like it would have built just that extra little bit as well at the early part, because I think that was only like episode 4. Something like that. So you know, that's splitting hairs, because ultimately the series was so strong, and what they did with it was amazing. Like the little things as well. Like I say, you can forget the fucking lighter scene, you know, and like I know Rich is a big proponent for the non-Hollywood stuff, but I feel at points I can overlook.
I think you've got a video game. Game.
Well, I kind of feel as well that there were certain points that, like, and this is what annoys me when people say, "Oh, the like at no point are the infected ever a threat." Well, you forget the episode where they come out of the ground and just kill every fucker that's moving.
They kill the people with the basic tank.
Yeah.
So
you know, it kind of like you know. Rich doesn't like the Hollywood stuff, but I kind of get why they did it, because it does reinforce that there is this backdrop.
There is a threat.
There is a threat. Yeah, pay attention.
Yeah,
but so yeah, so
although they did disappear for like the last 4 episodes.
But then I kind of feel that you're like, are we looking?
There was other stuff. There was bigger stories to tell.
And also like one thing that you're like 20 years later, like. One thing they never touch on, which you're not going to, is like, how do they survive? Like, how do these things survive? Like, because they're still a human organism, so they still like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't know how much of the mutation is like, how much of their
in episode 1, he explains that if this fungus was to take over a human, what it does is the fungus eats the human.
Yeah.
That's how it survives. It's eating the human, but it's also replacing the things it's eating.
Right. Okay.
With fungus.
Well, that's what the guy says right at the start. I might need to rewatch. Okay. I gotcha.
So that's how they live it so long.
Right. Okay.
There's also in the same, I think it's episode 2, they go outside a building and they've got a vine coming out.
Yeah.
Vine, and he breaks it and goes, it's basically dust. That probably means everyone in there is dead.
Yeah. Well,
they do die.
Yeah, that was my point. Like 20 years later, if they don't have any kind of sustenance or anything, like you are going to see areas where there isn't going to be swaths of these things, because how do they survive?
Killed a lot of them.
Yeah.
Fedra did in 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, to keep in with the theme of it's got to be as real as we can make it. The cordyceps didn't come out and just start wiping out. It did wipe out areas, but cities would have been fortified. They knew it was coming. You saw it in the first episode. You see them start like realizing these things are going off, and as it goes off, an army start cordoning people in. You kill a lot of the infected at that point.
Yeah.
However, there are still going to be infected. They're going to find a way out. They're going to eat the remaining people in the city. Yada yada yada. So they live for X amount of years. Plus, you don't know how long a mushroom's going to survive. It's probably got a fair amount of
time.
Before it completely eats a person inside from out. So, I mean, you know, 20 years, maybe some of the first infected, but the problem is that infections are still occurring, aren't they?
Yeah, but less so much out there in the middle of nowhere, because there are no people anymore, because they've all been put in QZs. So. And are they just going to walk around aimlessly in an area where no one is, or do they have some kind of sense of, okay, we need to migrate over there because we know there's something over there? Like, are they like a hive mind? Yeah, like a hive mind to try, you know. So
I would say so. I say that I think what it seems like is when they're in a dark area, this might be from the game, they tend to settle because they're mushrooms. So they rest and they survive on the moisture within the air. And then, as you've seen in the TV show, there's that guy who's like against the wall, looks like he's dead.
and then
As soon as it senses there's life and food or something to infect, which is basically how the mushrooms work, they don't really care about food. It's about the spread. So as soon as it realizes there's something to infect, it sort of pulls itself off the wall, and it must have been there maybe 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they go dormant.
Yeah.
So I think that's how they sort of explain, which makes sense in I suppose, in a fungal world, and maybe it's like the Green Rich. Eh?
Yeah, could be. Very well could be. That's a story for another day.
Yeah, it is. It is a story for another day. So, objectively, to give round out our scores, I guess is probably the best thing we do. I was going to point out that, as we've already pointed out, it looks like season 2 is going to be approximately 2 seasons, maybe more. There was talk of maybe someone trying to get a petition to go for Ashley Johnson to get a spin-off season, which I couldn't see that not happening because money.
I hope not.
Well, we hope not as video gamers. However, the mass market of the 8 point whatever million people that watched it may be very interested in watching.
True. Doesn't matter about us, does it?
Because the thing that they do get to focus on in that 20 years is they can focus more on the collapse of society.
Yeah. True. What we don't know.
Yeah. I mean, Ellie would be nothing in that. The series would end with Ellie.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's why you probably didn't. If that was the thing, you could have made that as the ending, and it would have probably been less heinous than what it was putting it in this series.
Yeah.
To be honest, I would have been perfectly happy with this being so popular that they decided to do a Fear of the Walking Dead.
That's what I was just about to ask. Is the Fear of the Walking Dead an actual comic?
It became a comic after the TV show.
Right. Okay. So yes. Okay. That's what I was going to say. Obviously, there's enough love and what's name that they're like, we can milk the shit out of this and tell the story, because technically that's set before Rick wakes up, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the end of civilization tale, isn't it?
Like, so pretty much it's like they would be doing a Fear the Walking Dead for The Last of Us.
Yeah. Yeah. That's if they do it. I mean, again, it's internet here, so it could be neither here nor there. I'm sure.
I'll tell you, fan petitions are a funny thing. If enough people get behind it, it could probably happen.
They can push it into existence. I know that. So yeah, as I was saying, so Pedro Pascal himself came out about the end, saying that obviously we spoke about it during that he came out and he was like, "Oh, this is very fucking hell." It's very much, it's the love that's driving him, the love to not lose his daughter. So it just confirms a couple of things. As I said, there was an alternate ending where you see Joel and Ellie slowly start to just separate, just to give the imagery of that the wedge has been formed. But I'm glad they didn't do that because, Bella Ramsey's acting was so good that I thought it portrayed that in her voice anyway. Like, you got the distinct feeling that, like, she doesn't fully trust what he's saying here, which is why she's asking a second time, and he's lied again. Now, anyone who's been lied to, and you're being lied to, it's kind of a kick in the face. Mm-hmm. So, I think it would have been overkill to do this weird separation thing. I get why, like, just spells it out for some people.
Okay was enough.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, to give my final thoughts on this as a series and a whole, this is a must-watch. If we're going to go words, this is definitely a must-watch for me. I mean, is it perfect? No, but we've already established that nothing's really absolutely perfect. So, but as television goes, as adaptations go, the fact that someone can go and watch this with no knowledge of the video game and come out and tell me, go, mate, I'm going to go back and watch it again. It was that fucking good. Like, is praise enough? I mean, I absolutely adored it, but to hear it from non-video game fans, I think that's just nothing but a 2 thumbs up success. So, guys, fight amongst yourselves.
Yeah, go on, Rich. Oh, sorry. I would say, best adaptation to date.
Yes.
video game adaptation.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Preface that. Yeah, best video adaptation.
I was going to say, because if you're going to say adaptation, stop.
Yeah.
I'm getting in my car. I'm driving to your house.
No, that's fair.
No,
that's
fair.
Context is everything. You are correct. Yeah, I need to preface. Best video game adaptation to date. Must watch.
I'm coming round your house with 11 books of Sandman, and I'm slapping you in the face with it, man.
So, Rich?
Definitely a must watch. I mean, if you got to go down the fucking the whole sort of number thing, you get an 8.5. You know, I don't think there's too much. There's too much bullshit in the last couple of episodes that to me were just not in keeping with the rest of the show. But then 8.5 is still very good because, as already established earlier, 5 is an average. So like 8.5 is like well above average. You know, do I think it's considering like I'd probably say Castlevania was an 8, but for very different reasons. You know, that's something set in the universe, but isn't an adaptation. In terms of adapting a video game, as TJ says, it's the best one that's ever existed. You know, and I'm excited now that there's a blueprint for people to follow.
Yes, I think that's the only thing we can hope for, that they sort of Iron Man it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. That's how you do it. Do God of War. Do Resi 4. You know, do the big things like do Metal Gear Solid, you know.
Yeah. So to end out then, guys, a little bit of housekeeping. I don't remember if we settled on are we doing one next week or not.
When not, because you're not around, are you?
Yeah, I think we're going to go the following week, aren't we?
Yeah, we'll do the following week.
Isn't that the week that you can't do?
No,
I can do that week. I can do the Saturday. I can't do the Sunday.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool. So, guys, just to clear it then, we're going to be doing about. Rich, remind me.
Remakes. We're going to be doing about remakes and whether they can whether they're ever better than the originals or not. Really.
Yeah.
Can they eclipse the originals? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we'll be coming back with, guys. Big discussion about remakes, mainly video games, but not just video games. There are many remakes that we can talk about.
Yeah, in terms of films, I'm actually I probably don't have too much to say about the film one. So I know TJ's quite a filmy guy, so I'm kind of counting on him here. It was a topic TJ sort of mentioned and really sparked an interest in me. So I've been chomping at the bit for it. To be fair,
it should be a good one.
So just to let you know that every now and then it will just end up being me and TJ doing a film because Rich can't always commit because of his job.
Yeah, I'm starting night shifts, so.
But we will when we all come together, we'll do a big subject. It will probably be a longer podcast. So, right, guys, I guess that's unless. There's
hang on, no.
No.
Hold on. Sorry. Tell a lie. Aren't we doing rounding out Naughty Dog with Uncharted next? Didn't we say we would close the chapter on Naughty Dog by doing Uncharted?
Yes.
Or are we saving that for another? We saved that for another one. It's all on. It's up to Rich. I don't mind. Like if we do.
I will. So I'm quite keen on the whole remake conversation.
Yeah, we'll go with that then. We'll go with that. What do you want to do then? Me and Jay will do because I know like you.
Well, I will watch Uncharted anyway.
Okay.
Though.
Okay, cool. Well, we can do that for down the road, can't we? We can do that.
Yeah, and if that's one, say you guys are going to do what I'm not here, I will just send Jay like a page of notes with my thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll read them out.
Jay can read them out, and it'll be really funny because then Jay can get to do an impression of me.
Okay.
So as he reads it out.
Hi, my name's Rich.
I will never speak to you again. I will take your laptop and I will never speak to you again, sir.
Oh. Okay. Anyway.
Right. So just clearing house. Then yes, we'll be back. We'll be doing the remakes. That's remakes across the board. It's not just video games.
Yep.
And then me and TJ will cover, of course, the Uncharted film. Just rounding out the Naughty Dog sort of season of things, and then we'll be moving on to new things that we'll talk about more as we. Let's be honest, think them up. So,
sorry, I've just got to ask a question to specify. When we're talking about remakes, you've just mentioned the same, not just about games. Well, that's brought an idea to my head. Does that include cover songs?
music might be a bit too broad.
I was going to say, yeah, because cover songs are technically remakes.
Yeah,
they are, and I don't mind. I definitely don't mind doing about remakes. Cover
Yeah,
songs.
I do feel opening the board to music might be a bit too much, though.
I mean, it's something that we can definitely look at in the future or something. But I mean, if you've got information on them, I'm not averse to anything that's a remake, revamp.
Okay.
I just want people to know that, like, you know, it is about we generally talk about entertainment, so music comes into entertainment. So yeah, we'll talk about anything like that. I'm happy to talk about some great covers that I like. I mean, what we could do is maybe do a rundown of what you would call your top 3 covers or remakes, or top 5 remakes in all media. That'd be hard to do.
That's difficult.
It's a bit broad.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but
we can figure out. Well,
where's the crown? Motherfucker.
We've got with it. Okay, well, no, that's fine. We do have a bit of time to go back and forth and see and you know.
We'll have the details out to be determined.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
And with that furly bombshell, we end another Opinions of the Uninformed. Right, I have been Firefly Zero, or otherwise known as Jay. I have been joined, of course, by Rich.
LiveConvoy, aka Rich motherfucking Rich.
And TJ.
The proper TJ on all social media, and I stream on Twitch on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And just quickly before we go, I would like to know, Rich, do you plan on driving down here and beating me over the head with the Sandman books before or after you shoot Jay in the head?
I'm definitely dead first.
Yeah, probably Jay, because he's like
he's closer.
House,
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Like, yeah, you're quite lucky because there's a high chance I might deal with Jay and then just be like, oh,
can't be bothered,
and just come home, you know.
Either I'll make my own.
No, it's okay. You brigaded because you were like, you know, when you said best adaptation ever, I was like, motherfucker, like, no. That'd be an interesting one, like in terms of adaptations at some point. Just like, what do you think is the single greatest adaptation from one medium to another?
Well, that's something we'd have to look into. I suppose we'll get a few more adaptations under our belt first before we start trying to reel off what the best is ever, because then we'd have to do a whole thing on it. Right, we've vamped on a bit long. So, from me, it's goodbye, folks.
See you later.
Fucking peace.
Let me break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up, I ain't never giving up. Taking that crown from you. I ain't worried about you, I ain't never. So let me break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up, I ain't never giving up. Taking that crown from you. I ain't worried about you, I ain't never make.